Chapter 302. As You Wish. As Wen Yi's voice fell, a voice rang in his ears. Hearing this extremely familiar voice, Wen Yi's expression changed and he hurriedly turned his head to look. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were two familiar figures. One was Yang Yu, and the other was Ning Yu. Swoosh. Ning Yu landed in the middle of the courtyard in a flash and said calmly, "As you wish, I'm here to die." As he spoke, Ning Yu's aura burst out and pressed towards Wen Yi. Sho. Feeling Ning Yu's powerful aura, Wen Yi's expression turned ugly and he immediately retreated. Suddenly, Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and instantly retracted his aura. "Come out, don't you feel suffocated staying there?" Cupping his fists, Ning Yu looked towards a room to the east. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. From Ning Yu's words, it seemed like there was someone in that room. "Who's in there?" "I'm not sure, but it should be related to Wen Yi, or should I say, his with Wen Yi." "Yeah, Ning Yu is so powerful, it's impossible that Wen Yi doesn't have a backup plan." "Even if Wen Yi has a backup plan, it's impossible for him to defeat Ning Yu. Ning Yu is a powerful existence that can arm wrestle with Wei Yi." Silence. After the discussion, there was a short silence in the entire courtyard. Everyone shifted their gaze towards the room that Ning Yu was looking at. They also wanted to see who was in that room. Ha ha ha. The silence did not last long before it was broken by a loud laughter. Crack. The next moment, the wooden door was blasted open from the inside, and a figure dressed in black rushed out from inside. Ghost Blade Hand. The martial artist in black was extremely fast, appearing in front of Ning Yu almost in an instant. Moreover, the martial artist in black opened his hands and used an extremely strange method to slap towards Ning Yu's head. Ghost Blade Hand. Ning Yu's face was expressionless as he faced the black-clothed cultivator. When the palm was 10 centimeters away from his head, he raised his right hand and threw a backhand punch, which collided with the palm that was coming at him. Bang! After the strike, the black-clothed cultivator's expression changed drastically. He retreated a few steps before stabilizing himself. Peak of the true martial realm. Looking at the black-clothed cultivator in front of him, Ning Yu was somewhat astonished. Because the black-robed martial artist was at the peak of the true martial realm, and among this batch of freshmen, there was no martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm. Senior. The black-clothed martial artist was definitely a senior. "If I'm not wrong, you should be the warrior ranked first on the battle list of the Sacred Institute." Ning Yu's voice sounded slowly in the courtyard. "Ghost Li Huala." Ning Yu's words immediately caused a huge uproar. "He is Ghost Li, the one ranked first on the Sacred Institute's combat rankings?" According to Ning Yu, he should be. Ghost Li is a freak. It's said that his strength has already reached the peak. While discussing, the crowd was very confused. In Danwu College, the two geniuses who controlled the Overlord Sacred Institute's combat list and the Sacred Institute's alchemy list had always been elusive. Very few martial artists had ever seen them. Why was Wen Yi so powerful that he could invite Ghost Li? Haha, Zhong Tianwen told me that there is another core disciple of the Sacred Institute, and he is very strong. Ghost Li smiled and said, "I didn't believe it at first, but now that I've seen you, I finally understand that it's not a coincidence that you became a core disciple. You have some skills." "Ghost Li, this is between me and Wen Yi. I hope you won't interfere," Ning Yu said in a low voice. Although they were evenly matched in the previous strike, Ning Yu knew that Ghost Li was not weak. He had no grudge against Ghost Li. If Ghost Li gave up, it would naturally be good. After all, having one more friend was better than having one more enemy. Shaking his head, Ghost Li said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. At most, I will make you lie in bed for a few months. With your strength, I'm afraid it will be very difficult to make me lie in bed for a few months." After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu said indifferently, "Let Zhong Tianwen come out. I don't have extra time to waste with you guys." Hearing Ning Yu's words, Ghost Li's expression finally changed. His eyes revealed extreme shock. Ning Yu could actually discover Zhong Tianwen, who was hiding in the surroundings. Was it a wild guess, or did he really discover him? "I alone am enough to deal with you." After a short moment of shock, Ghost Li's eyes turned cold. He rose from the ground and once again charged towards Ningyu. Stubborn fool. Seeing that Ghost Li did not know what was good for him, Ningyu was also a little angry. When he came out of the Danwu pool, the semicircular pendant couldn't help but tremble. The Red Devil's body was in the semicircular pendant. The pendant's change meant that the Red Devil was most likely in danger. The Red Devil and the Dark Emperor were together. If the Red Devil was in danger, the Dark Emperor would definitely not be any better. Of all times, Ghost Li came out to cause trouble. Absolute Sword Wave. The essence chi in his sea of consciousness rumbled and instantly poured into the soul-severing sword. Following that, Ningyu leaped up and floated in the air. With a low shout, a powerful sword wave separated from the soul-severing sword and blasted at Ghost Li. Right now, Ningyu was in the middle stage of the true martial realm. The illusory golden core in his sea of consciousness had also split into 4. Furthermore, the essence chi in each illusory golden core was comparable to a middle-stage primal core martial artist. Correspondingly, the absolute sword wave that Ningyu executed this time was much more powerful than Wei Z's. Not good. Originally, Ghost Li thought that he could easily defeat Ningyu. Who would have thought that in just the second move, he would feel his heart palpitate and want to retreat? However, after dominating the Sacred Institute's combat list for so long, Ghost Li naturally would not choose to admit defeat. He waved his hands quickly, faster and faster. In the end, several illusory palms appeared and blasted towards the huge sword wave. Kai kai kai. However, the palms that Ghost Li had blasted out were obviously unable to withstand the absolute sword wave. As soon as the palms came into contact with the absolute sword wave, they were blasted apart. Swoosh. Immediately, the absolute sword wave gradually expanded in Ghost Li's eyes and instantly arrived in front of him. Zhong Tianwen, why aren't you coming out? Ghost Li shouted at the critical moment. Boom. In the next moment, a room next to him suddenly exploded and a figure dashed out from inside. This figure was extremely fast. As soon as Ghost Li shouted, he appeared in front of Ghost Li and blasted out a palm that collided with the absolute sword wave. Bang! The two collided and a low muffled sound was heard. Then, the absolute sword wave slowly dissipated. Seeing that the absolute sword wave had been blasted apart, Ningyu's pupils shrank slightly. Although he had only used 80% of his strength, the power of the absolute sword wave was still very strong. Unless one had the strength of a middle-stage primal core cultivator, it would be very difficult to break it apart with one palm. Half a step to primal core realm. Chapter 303. Compared to Ningyu's shock, Zhong Tianwen was even more shocked to the extreme. Although he easily blocked Ningyu's absolute sword wave, Zhong Tianwen could feel that the power of the absolute sword wave that Ningyu displayed this time was much stronger than before. If he had not advanced to half-step Yuan Dan realm, it would have been very difficult for him to resist this absolute sword wave. Ningyu, I didn't expect you to advance from the initial stage of the true martial realm to the middle stage of the true martial realm. Your strength has increased so much. After the shock, Zhong Tianwen said in a deep voice. Hehe, this is all thanks to you. If not for devouring 1/10 of your soul force, I wouldn't have been able to advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm so quickly. Ningyu regained his composure and said indifferently. Hearing this, Zhong Tianwen's face instantly turned gloomy. His purpose for coming here this time was very clear, and that was to teach Ningyu a lesson and take revenge for the time when his soul force was devoured. If not for the devouring of his soul force, he wouldn't have used a secret method to advance to half-step Yuan Dan realm. Pulling a seedling to help it grow at this time was not the slightest bit beneficial to his future growth. Since you are so arrogant, then leave a hand behind. Zhong Tianwen took a step forward and revealed his aura as he said gloomily. Silence. Silence. Zhong Tianwen's words caused the martial artists in this area to quiet down. Although Zhong Tianwen had advanced to half-step Yuan Dan realm and was very strong, Ningyu wasn't weak either. Moreover, Ningyu was the same as Zhong Tianwen, they were both core disciples. Zhong Tianwen actually wanted to cripple one of Ningyu's hands here? Wasn't he looking down on the rules of the Sacred Institute too much? Zhong Tianwen, this is not the senior student area. You dare to make a move here, aren't you afraid of the dean punishing you? Xiao Yu said coldly. Hehe, to me, there is no such thing as a new and senior student area. With a slight smile, Zhong Tianwen said, I can go to all the areas of the Sacred Institute. The moment the word yes fell, Zhong Tianwen's aura suddenly erupted and pressed towards Ningyu without a care for his life. Go. Everyone, leave quickly. That's right. Let's leave quickly. A battle of this level must be watched from afar. Also, inform the dean immediately. Zhong Tianwen is a senior student. How dare he come to the freshman area to behave atrociously? We must let the dean know. Voila. The moment Zhong Tianwen made his move, the surrounding students immediately left the courtyard. They were not fools, and they naturally knew the gap between them and Ningyu and Zhong Tianwen. With their strength, staying here was no different from throwing their lives away. Xiao Yu, let's leave quickly, Xikong Ling said anxiously. Let's go. Xiao Yu clenched her fists and said through gritted teeth. Although she was worried about Ningyu, Xiao Yu knew that she wouldn't be of much help if she stayed. On the contrary, she would only add to the chaos. Moreover, from the strength that Ningyu displayed just now, it was not that easy for Zhong Tianwen to defeat Ningyu. What she needed to do was to inform the director immediately. In an instant, there were only 3 people left in the courtyard. Ningyu, Zhong Tianwen, Ghost Li. However, Ghost Li had already jumped onto the roof. His cultivation was only at the peak of the true martial realm, so he didn't dare to stay in the battlefield. As for Zhong Tianwen, his fists carried bursts of yuan qi wind as he took a step forward and rushed towards Ningyu. Kai Kai. Zhong Tianwen's speed was very fast, so fast that the friction between his fist and the air produced a Kai Kai sound. Soul attack technique. Feeling the faint soul fluctuation emitted from Zhong Tianwen's fist, Ningyu was slightly surprised, but he didn't show it. Instead, he quickly formed a hand seal. Underworld dominating palm. Along with this shout, a palm print that was not any weaker than Zhong Tianwen's attack appeared in the air. Catcher. The fist and the palm collided, and suddenly, a cracking sound was heard. Then, Ningyu and Zhong Tianwen both took a few steps back before they could stabilize their bodies. I have to say, your strength has increased so fast, it is beyond my expectations. After the attack, Zhong Tianwen didn't continue to attack. He stood still and said coldly, you didn't expect this, right? My soul force has also advanced to the peak of the 4th grade. Indeed, I didn't expect this. Ningyu said indifferently, but the strength of a peak of the 4th grade, I still don't care about it. As he spoke, Ningyu took out the soul-severing sword and held it in his hand. The soul-severing sword contained half of Wei Zedi's soul force. If it devoured the other half of Zhong Tianwen's soul force, Ningyu was confident that he could increase the strength of his soul force to the 5th grade. As long as his soul force increased to the 5th grade, Ningyu could practice the 5th form of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. The power of the 5th form of the Netherworld Samsara Palm compared to the previous 4 forms had an earth-shattering change. Ningyu, do you think I'm here to play with you? I, Zhong Tianwen, will definitely take back what I've lost. Previously, when his soul force had been devoured by Ningyu, Zhong Tianwen felt extremely humiliated and didn't tell anyone. This time, his soul force had advanced to the peak of the 4th grade, and he had waited for such a good opportunity to devour his soul force back. Before coming, he had already investigated and found that there were no Yuan Dan stage elders in the new students area. Therefore, even if he devoured Ningyu's soul force here, no one would know. Ghost Li, set up the formation. In the next moment, Zhong Tianwen shouted loudly and unleashed his speed to the limit, darting back and forth in this courtyard. Ghost Li, who was on the roof, waved his sleeves repeatedly, and 4 flags were thrown out, inserted into the 4 corners of the courtyard. After a while, Zhong Tianwen and Ghost Li stopped at the same time. What's going on? Why is the courtyard blocked by the fog? Not only does this fog block our vision, but even our soul force can't enter at all. It should be an array. When the black fog enveloped the courtyard, the expressions of the new students outside the courtyard changed drastically. Among them, there were people whose soul force had reached the peak of the 3rd grade, but the soul force of the peak of the 3rd grade could not even get close to the edge of the fog. Spirit restraining formation. In the middle of the courtyard, Ningyu stood on the spot, cupped his fists, and looked at Zhong Tianwen with interest. If I'm not wrong, you set up the spirit restraining formation to devour my soul force. Swoosh. At this moment, Ghost Li landed beside Zhong Tianwen. Moreover, in Ghost Li's hand, there was a grey cloth bag. Ningyu, this cloth bag is a middle heaven level cloth bag, it can devour everything. The corner of Ghost Li's mouth curled up, and he said, as long as you dare to use your soul force, it will devour your soul force. Ningyu, I'll give you a chance now. Zhong Tianwen seemed to have a card up his sleeve, took a step forward, and laughed sinisterly. As long as you obediently let your soul force enter the divine rune cloth bag, I can spare your life, and not destroy your sea of consciousness. Chapter 304. Stubborn Fool. With a cold snort, Zhong Tianwen charged at Ningyu. After advancing to the half-step Yuan Dan realm, Zhong Tianwen's strength had increased by several times. Whoosh! His body flew through the air, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. Ningyu was not too afraid of Zhong Tianwen. What he feared now was the divine rune pouch in Ghost Li's hand. The divine rune bag was a heaven-grade magic treasure. More accurately speaking, it was a devouring magic treasure like the soul-breaking sword. However, the soul-breaking sword could also be used against enemies other than devouring soul power. The divine rune bag only had one function, and that was to devour soul power. I have to get rid of the divine rune bag first. Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a countermeasure. With a flick of his wrist, the soul-breaking sword appeared in his hand. Ningyu stabbed out and a sword wave was formed, blasting at Zhong Tianwen. Child's play. Zhong Tianwen seemed to have expected the sword wave from Ningyu and casually waved a cold light to disperse it. At the same time, Zhong Tianwen had already appeared in front of Ningyu. Danwave fist. With a low shout, Zhong Tianwen quickly punched out. A pale green energy appeared on his fist, gradually magnifying in Ningyu's eyes. Seeing such a powerful punch from Zhong Tianwen, Ningyu's eyes narrowed. In the next moment, the azure spiritual fire in his sea of consciousness flew out and wrapped around his fist. The pale purple flame danced continuously. Then, Ningyu punched out, colliding with Zhong Tianwen's fist. Crack! When the two fists collided, a crisp sound rang out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Then, the two figures separated as soon as they touched. Ningyu took a few steps back before stabilizing himself. As for Zhong Tianwen, he stood on the spot, not retreating at all. Although he did not retreat, compared to Ningyu, Zhong Tianwen's face was livid and extremely ugly. Because that cracking sound came from his fist. Lowering his head to look at his bloody fist, Zhong Tianwen's chest heaved up and down. He was on the verge of exploding in rage. He had suffered at the hands of Ningyu over and over again. He had to get back at him. Ningyu, you have completely infuriated me. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Tianwen calmed down and said indifferently, those who anger me never have a good ending. You're not the only one who's been angered by me. If everyone said that to me, wouldn't I be very tired? Ningyu stretched out a finger, shook it and said, you are not my match, better let Ghost Li fight, or else after 3 moves, you will be dead. Ha ha ha. Zhong Tianwen laughed wildly as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Immediately, his tone changed, and he said coldly, even a mid-primal core stage warrior can forget about defeating me in 3 moves. You are not qualified. Maybe you don't know, but before I came here, I sparred with Wei Ziyi. As a mid-primal core stage warrior, he did not last 3 moves against me, Zhong Tianwen continued with a smile. Wei Ziyi did not last 3 moves against you, but that is understandable. There is nothing to brag about. After some thought, Ningyu decided not to tell Zhong Tianwen about Wei Ziyi. If Zhong Tianwen knew that he had swallowed half of Wei Ziyi's soul power, who knew what he would think? Wei Ziyi, who had lost half of his soul power, could be easily defeated by Zhong Tianwen in 3 moves. There is nothing to brag about. Aren't you afraid of biting off your tongue? Zhong Tianwen's expression was a little exaggerated as he said coldly, I will let you know what it feels like to be angered by a mid-primal core stage warrior, noisy. However, before Zhong Tianwen could finish speaking, Ningyu summoned his phantom armor and rushed out with the soul-severing sword in hand. However, Ningyu's target was not Zhong Tianwen, but Ghost Li, who was on the other side. The God Rune bag was always a problem, and Ningyu did not want the bag to interfere when he was swallowing Zhong Tianwen's soul power. Therefore, he had to get the God Rune bag. Even if he could not get it, he had to destroy it. Ghost Li, protect the God Rune bag. Zhong Tianwen was originally prepared to fight with Ningyu, but when he saw Ningyu turn around and rush towards Ghost Li, he instantly understood. Ningyu did not want to fight with him, but wanted to take the God Rune bag. It won't be that easy to take the God Rune bag from my hands. Ghost Li was not a pushover, and the fact that he was able to dominate the first rank of the Overlord Sacred Institute for so long was enough to prove that he had some skills. Although he was not as strong as Ningyu, he had many hidden cards. I'll let you have a taste of the power of an explosive bomb. Ghost Li sneered and waved his sleeves, and in an instant, 3 explosive bombs flew towards Ningyu. Kai kai kai. The explosive bombs were about the size of a fist, and they were black in color, emitting a black mist. Me. How dare you take an explosive bomb head-on? You should know your place first, Ghost Li snorted, as if he could see Ningyu's face after being hit by the explosive bombs. What happened in front of him was indeed within Ghost Li's expectations. The 3 explosive bombs hit Ningyu's chest. However, there was one thing that puzzled him. Why didn't the explosive bombs explode? Logically speaking, when an explosive bomb hit a cultivator's body, it would explode on its own. The power of the explosion was enough to severely injure a half-step Yuan Dan cultivator. What? However, in the next moment, Ghost Li screamed as if he had seen a ghost. This was because he saw the 3 explosive bombs pass through Ningyu's body and hit Zhong Tianwen. After image. Very quickly, Ghost Li reacted. The explosive bombs did not hit Ningyu, but instead passed through Ningyu's afterimage. Boom boom boom. At the same time, the 3 explosive bombs exploded in front of Zhong Tianwen. If Zhong Tianwen had not been prepared, he would have been blasted into a fool. Hihi, Ghost Li, I didn't expect you to be on my side. At this moment, Ningyu had already appeared in front of Ghost Li, and said with a smile, if that's the case, then give me the divine rune cloth bag. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu's body immediately retreated. Looking down at his empty hands, Ghost Li opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he was stunned on the spot. The divine rune cloth bag was taken away by Ningyu. Why is Ningyu so fast? Why is he so fast? At this moment, these few words kept echoing in Ghost Li's mind. He still could not figure out how Ningyu's speed was so fast that even he, who was at the peak of the true martial realm, did not know when Ningyu had taken away the divine rune cloth bag. Ghost Li, you piece of trash. Seeing the divine rune cloth bag being taken away by Ningyu, Zhong Tianwen could not help but curse. You can't do anything right. Zhong Tianwen was a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have borrowed the divine rune cloth bag and used it himself. Now, without the divine rune cloth bag, it would be harder than ascending to heaven for him to devour Ningyu's soul force. With an extremely gloomy expression, Zhong Tianwen waved his sleeve, and suddenly a black flying sword appeared in his hand. Chapter 305. Kaboom! The moment the shocking sword gleam struck out, the space seemed to tremble slightly. Then, Zhong Tianwen leaped up and turned into a shadow, charging straight at Ningyu. Absolute sword wave. With a low roar, Ningyu struck out a sword wave with his backhand, colliding with the black demon sword gleam in mid-air. Not long ago at Danwu College's fighting ring, Ningyu had already seen the power of the black demon sword gleam. The difference was that Ningyu had used the 6th form of the Supreme 9 Purities sword technique, Solitaire. This time, he used the 5th form, Absolute Sword Wave. Sho. As soon as the Absolute Sword Wave and the Black Demon Sword Gleam came into contact, Ningyu realized the seriousness of the problem. He hurriedly waved the soul-severing sword and struck out several more Absolute Sword Waves. Kai. With several consecutive Absolute Sword Waves, he managed to block Zhong Tianwen's Black Demon Sword Gleam. At this moment, Zhong Tianwen's speeding figure appeared in front of Ningyu, and the Black Demon Sword suddenly pierced towards Ningyu's heart. This sword was very fast and powerful, and the blade was even emitting traces of green corrosive gas. If Ning Yu was unlucky enough to be pierced, even if he did not die, he would still end up crippled. Phantom armor. At this critical moment, Ning Yu hurriedly controlled the phantom armor and unleashed its speed to the extreme. Even though the phantom armor could instantly explode with the speed of a mid-stage primal core warrior, it could only barely dodge the black demon sword. Not bad, I didn't expect you to be so fast. The corner of Zhong Tianwen's mouth curled up, and he laughed coldly. I want to see how long you can maintain this speed. With that, Zhong Tianwen controlled the black demon sword again and attacked Ning Yu. Swish, swish. In midair, two figures, one in front and one behind, were chasing each other non-stop. The one behind was Zhong Tianwen, who held the black demon sword in his hand and continuously slashed out sword gleams. The figure in front was naturally Ning Yu. At this time, Ning Yu had even put away the absolute soul sword and was focused on escaping. After a quarter of an hour, Zhong Tianwen shouted coldly, "Do you only know how to run?" Whoosh. Suddenly, Ning Yu stopped. With a flick of his wrist, he took out the absolute soul sword and held it in his hand. Buzz. What was different from before was that the soul-severing sword seemed to want to leave Ning Yu's palm and made a trembling sound. Moreover, the vibrations were getting stronger and stronger. In the end, the absolute soul sword suddenly broke away from Ning Yu's hand. Not only was Ning Yu not surprised when the absolute soul sword left his hand, he even shouted in a low voice, "Zhong Tianwen, now I'll let you see what a true sword art is. Hualala." The next moment, under Zhong Tianwen's shocked gaze, the absolute soul sword trembled in midair. The severing soul sword was not vibrating aimlessly. Instead, it was vibrating with a unique rhythm. Solitary sword wave. Seeing the absolute soul sword vibrating to a certain extent, three words slowly sounded in Ning Yu's heart. Swoosh. Immediately after, a substantial sword wave broke away from the absolute soul sword. Compared to the absolute sword wave, this substantial sword wave had several sword wave phantoms around it. With so many phantom sword waves gathered together, Zhong Tianwen couldn't tell which one was the real one. Black Demon Sword Aura. Facing the approaching solitaire, Zhong Tianwen immediately mobilized the primordial qi in the illusory golden core and injected it into the black demon sword. Then, he waved the black demon sword again and again. Suddenly, several black demon sword auras attacked and blasted at solitaire. Relying on the black demon sword auras alone can't withstand my solitaire. Looking at the sword auras and sword waves that were about to collide, Ning Yu couldn't help but murmur. Ever since he advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm and the illusory golden core split into four, Ning Yu faintly felt that solitaire wasn't simple. Solitaire should be divided into several realms. Superficial, initial success, middle success, greater success, and ultimate realm. If Ning Yu didn't guess wrongly, he had only cultivated solitaire to the initial success realm. There was still a long way to go before he reached the middle success realm. Although he hadn't cultivated solitaire to the middle success realm, the primordial qi in Ning Yu's body had increased, which naturally increased the power of solitaire. It was impossible for Zhong Tianwen, who was half a step into the primordial core realm, to withstand solitaire without going through a lot of trouble. Kai kai kai. At this moment, Zhong Tianwen's black demon sword auras had already clashed with solitaire in midair. The power of the black demon sword auras was extremely strong. Almost at the instant they came into contact with solitaire, they dispersed the illusory sword auras. However, every time an illusory sword ripple was dispersed, an illusory sword ripple would sweep out from Jiyu Jianbo's body, maintaining the number of illusory sword ripples. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing this situation, Zhong Tianwen couldn't help but curse. Solitaire was like a bottomless pit. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't completely disperse solitaire. Dark Tyrant Palm. Naturally, Ning Yu wouldn't waste time with Zhong Tianwen here. The peak 4th grade soul force in his body poured out in full force and wrapped around his palm. Immediately, Ning Yu flipped his wrist and fanned out a tangible palm print. Soul force, come out. Seeing the Dark Tyrant Palm approaching him, Zhong Tianwen clenched his teeth and immediately mobilized the soul force in his body, hoping to resist the attack of the Dark Tyrant Palm. Zhong Tianwen knew that the Dark Tyrant Palm was a soul attack, but he didn't care at all. After all, his soul force had also increased to the peak 4th grade. As expected, top single. Ningyu flipped his wrist and a strong suction force came out, trying to devour Zhong Tianwen's soul force. Hehe, Ningyu, I knew you would do this. Smiling, Zhong Tianwen retracted his soul force. Zhong Tianwen wasn't an idiot. On the fighting stage, Ningyu had absorbed 1/10 of his soul force, so he had to be careful. If he was defeated by the same move twice, he would probably find a piece of tofu to kill himself. Zhong Tianwen, I have to say, you are very smart. Ningyu didn't mind. The suction force on his palm disappeared instantly. He said calmly, but sometimes, being smart can be the opposite of being smart. Being smart can be the opposite of being smart. Let me retract my soul force into my body, let's see if you can still. However, before Zhong Tianwen could completely retract his soul force into his body, he saw something terrifying. The soul-severing sword had appeared in front of him, and a strong suction force exploded from it, absorbing all the soul force that he couldn't retract in time. Ningyu, how dare you devour my soul force? Losing half of his soul force in an instant, Zhong Tianwen couldn't help but shout. It's not good to be distracted now. While Zhong Tianwen was slightly distracted, the solitaire in mid-air suddenly sped up, and with a shocking speed, it flew towards him. Looking at the approaching solitaire, Zhong Tianwen's pupils shrank, revealing a horrified expression, and his body immediately retreated. However, Zhong Tianwen's retreating speed was obviously too slow. He had only taken a few steps back when the solitaire stabbed into his chest. A pig-slaughtering scream rang out in the courtyard. Chapter 306. What's going on? Who is the one who screamed? Judging from the voice, it should be Zhong Tianwen. Could it be that Ningyu defeated Zhong Tianwen? Voila! When the last sentence was said, the eyes of the crowd in front of the courtyard were all wide open. Their faces were filled with disbelief. If Ningyu defeated Ghost Li, they would still believe it. Defeated Zhong Tianwen? They didn't believe it. After all, Zhong Tianwen was a half-step Yuan Dan martial artist. How could Ningyu, who was only in the middle stage of the true martial realm, be his match? Zhong Tianwen, I told you, you're not my match. Sheathing the soul-severing sword, Ningyu said indifferently, now that things have come to this, you only have yourself to blame. You can't blame anyone else. Winner takes all. Whatever you say now is right. Zhong Tianwen's face was filled with malice as he said coldly, don't be too happy. I lost to you this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. Stubborn. As he spoke, Ningyu changed the topic and said coldly, do you think I don't dare to kill you? In the next moment, a monstrous killing intent surged from Ningyu. How many people have you killed? Why do you have such a heavy killing intent? Feeling the monstrous killing intent from Ningyu, Zhong Tianwen revealed a terrified expression. As a core disciple of the Sacred Institute, he had participated in many trials and killed at least 80 demonic beasts and martial artists. But the killing intent from his body, compared to the current Ningyu, was like heaven and earth, completely incomparable. Leaving him alive will always be a hidden danger. Although I can't kill him here, I can still do something to him. Ningyu rolled his eyes and thought of a countermeasure. Towards his enemies, Ningyu always killed them, but Zhong Tianwen was different. He couldn't be killed, at least not in the Sacred Institute. Zhong Tianwen was not only a core disciple, but also the last disciple of Dan Chunzi. If he was killed here, the consequences would be unimaginable. As a 9th-grade pinnacle alchemist in his previous life, Ningyu had 100 ways to slowly kill Zhong Tianwen without anyone noticing. You can only blame yourself for provoking him. Oh no. However, just as Ningyu was about to slap Zhong Tianwen, his expression changed, and he immediately retreated. Voila! At this moment, the fog covering the courtyard quickly dispersed, and 2 figures suddenly landed in the middle of the courtyard. Dean, why are you here? Seeing the 2 familiar figures suddenly appear, Ningyu's heart shuddered. The murderous aura on his body instantly disappeared without a trace. If I don't come, you're going to overturn the heavens. Wei Ziyi hurriedly ran to Zhong Tianwen's side and helped him up. Then, Wei Ziyi turned to Ningyu and berated, ignoring the rules of the Sacred Institute, you first caused trouble in the older students' area, and now you're causing trouble in the new students' area. A student like you should be punished. Hearing that, Ningyu's face instantly darkened. Wei Ziyi, you old fool, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Open your dog eyes wide and see who's causing trouble here. Ningyu's anger instantly surged, and he snorted coldly, you're so protective of Zhong Tianwen, is he your illegitimate son? You're really pissing me off. Wei Ziyi's face turned livid after being scolded by Ningyu, and his body trembled in anger. Old fool, are you very cold? If you're cold, you should hurry back and start a fire to warm yourself, lest you spend the rest of your life lying on the bed, Ningyu shrugged and said calmly. Alright, now isn't the time to talk about this. Seeing that Wei Ziyi was about to make a move, Dong Fangji waved his hand and said, bring Zhong Tianwen and Ghost Li back. Without my permission, the two of them absolutely can't take a step out of the Sacred Institute. Violators will be punished according to the rules of the Sacred Institute. Dong Fangji's last sentence contained a great imposing manner, and it pressured Wei Ziyi to the point that he was slightly unable to breathe. Let's go. Glaring fiercely at Ningyu, Wei Ziyi left the courtyard with Zhong Tianwen as if he was fleeing. As for Ghost Li, he hurriedly followed. Outside the courtyard, when everyone saw Wei Ziyi and Zhong Tianwen, their faces revealed astonished expressions. Why did Zhong Tianwen and Zhong Tianwen leave? Xiao Yu asked in puzzlement. Haha, could it be that you didn't see Wei Ziyi and Zhong Tianwen's expressions? If nothing unexpected happens, this battle will end with Ningyu's victory. Xikong Ling heaved a long sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. From the moment he saw Wei Ziyi's face that was like a pig's liver, Xikong Ling knew that Ningyu had won, and he'd won beautifully. Ningyu won? Then let's go in quickly, Xiao Yu hurriedly said. Xikong Ling's figure flashed and blocked Xiao Yu's path. He said, there's no hurry. Right now, Dean Dongfang is inside. He should have something to say to Ningyu. Let's go in later. At the same time, in the courtyard, Dongfang was somewhat speechless. With a slightly reproachful tone, he said to Ningyu, didn't I tell you not to be so impulsive when you see Wei Ziyi in the future? You just wouldn't listen. He's gone too far. I've already restrained myself by treating him like this. From Dongfang's words, Ningyu could tell that Dongfang also had a grudge against Wei Ziyi, so he was no longer worried. Don't worry, I'll settle this matter for you. Dongfang was somewhat helpless as he said, the most important thing right now is to cultivate. Strive to advance your cultivation to the peak of the martial school tournament, or even the half-step Yuan Dan realm before it arrives. Dean, the matter of the 100 Academy tournament can be put aside for now. Right now, I have a favor to ask of you, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Tell me about it, Dongfang said with a raised eyebrow. In 4 days, I hope. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu's expression changed drastically before he could finish his sentence. This was because he realized that the semicircular pendant in his storage ring was shaking violently. The red devil is nearby, and it's dangerous. With his heart thumping, Ningyu hurriedly said to Dongfang, Dean, I'll leave first. I'll be back as soon as possible. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu rose from the ground. His body turned into a shadow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. What's making him so anxious? Looking at Ningyu's back, Dongfang was in a dilemma. He wanted to see what Ningyu was up to, but something big was happening in the capital and he could not leave. With Ningyu's strength, as long as it's not a late Yuan Dan realm martial artist, no one should be able to do anything to him. After thinking for a while, Dongfang still did not follow. The fact that Ningyu was able to defeat Zhong Tianwen and Wei Ziyi was enough to prove his strength. Moreover, it was not appropriate for him to interfere in Ningyu's matters. After some thought, Dongfang floated in mid-air. His voice carried a faint fluctuation of vitality as he said in a clear voice, in a month, there will be a major assessment in the Sacred Institute. This assessment is related to the 100 Academy tournament. Whoever stands out in this assessment will have the opportunity to represent Danwu College in the 100 Academy tournament. Chapter 307. Swoosh. After leaving Danwoo College, Ningyu quickly advanced according to the feedback from the semicircular pendant. However, just as he flew to the city gate, Ningyu stopped. This was because he realized that the semicircular pendant had suddenly stopped shaking and became abnormally quiet. It's nearby. The Red Devil is nearby. Standing on the spot, Ningyu released his soul perception, trying to find the location of the Red Devil. Even after unleashing all of his peak 4th grade soul power, Ningyu still couldn't find the Red Devil. Where is it? It's impossible for it to disappear for no reason. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu took out the semicircular pendant from his storage ring and held it in his hand. Furthermore, Ningyu separated a wisp of his soul power into the pendant, trying to stimulate the Red Devil's main body. Swoosh. Before Ningyu's soul power could reach the area where the Red Devil's main body was, the pendant left his hand and fled into the distance. Damn it. The pendant suddenly flew away, completely out of Ningyu's expectations. He cursed inwardly and immediately raised his speed to the limit, chasing after the pendant. Poochie. At the same time, in a certain dense forest, a man in red spat out a mouthful of blood, staring at an old man in front of him. Old fart, what did you do to the Dark Emperor? Hee, don't worry. That dead dog is a bit special. I kept it to study it. It's not in danger now. Looking at the Red Devil, the old man shook his head and curled his lips. Relatively speaking, you don't have such good luck. Patriarch that black dog has been subdued by us. Do you think it's time to fulfill some promises? Beside him, Lu Quan said hesitantly. During the encirclement of the Dark Emperor, Lu Quan, Yang Shao, and Chai Wei had contributed a lot. Lu Quan and Yang Shao had even been injured. After subduing the Dark Emperor, Lu Quan asked Patriarch about the reward, but Patriarch kept dragging it out. Seeing that even the Red Devil was about to be subdued, Lu Quan felt that he had to ask for the reward. Otherwise, if Patriarch left with the Red Fiend, wouldn't their efforts be in vain? After the great battle with the Dark Emperor, LV Quan and the others already knew that Patriarch was not weak, and was even stronger than the three of them. Only by asking for payment before dealing with the Red Fiend could he ensure that his efforts would not be in vain. Humph. I'm not a man who doesn't keep his promise. After I get rid of this red-robed man, I'll naturally give you the reward. With a cold snort, Clan Master took the lead and charged toward Hong Mo. Seeing Patriarch charging at him, Hong Mo gritted his teeth and charged forward instead of retreating. He threw a backhand punch that collided with Patriarch's fist. Kacha. A crisp sound rang out. Hong Mo's body fell backward like a kite with a broken string. LV Quan, bring him here. After that strike, Patriarch did not continue. Instead, he said to LV Quan and the others, when you return, I will give you the rewards. Exchanging glances, LV Quan and the others' eyes were filled with excitement. Without much time to think, LV Quan, Yang Shao and the others immediately charged toward Hong Mo. Under the temptation of the huge reward, their speed was very fast. They were so fast that they arrived before Hong Mo in an instant. You can't blame us for this. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for offending. Oh no. LV Quan was just about to cast a spell to take Hong Mo away when his expression changed drastically. He immediately turned his head around. However, LV Quan was obviously half a beat slower. Just as he turned his head around, he saw a fist gradually expanding in front of his eyes. Finally, it landed heavily on his skull. Bang! The next moment, his brain exploded. Red, black, purple, all of it burst out. Run! The moment they saw LV Quan's tragic death, Yang Shao and Chai Wei only had one thought in their minds, and that was to run. Bang! Bang! However, before they could make it far, they ended up like LV Quan. Their heads exploded from the fists. Lu Hao, do you think we need to do anything to deal with these small fries? After killing LV Quan and the others, two silhouettes appeared. One of them was a man in a light blue shirt. He approached Patriarch and said, there are still 2 weeks until the Alchemy Union's alchemy competition. At this critical juncture, our identities must not be exposed. Otherwise, all our efforts will go to waste. Lu Hao, We've been planning this for a long time. If there's a mistake, you should know the consequences, the other martial artist said in a low voice. He, Shen Yong, Fan Qing, I know what I'm doing. There won't be any mistakes, patriarch. He transformed from an old man to a young man in his mid-20s. It's always better to be careful. After some thought, Shen Yong asked, how's your art of devouring going? I heard that the entire He family, young and old, were killed by you. At the mention of the art of devouring, Lu Hao was enraged. He said angrily, it's all that stupid dog's fault. I was about to succeed, but he suddenly appeared and ruined my plans. This caused the art of devouring to not be fully mastered. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked for your help. Looking at the corpses of LV Quan and the others not far away, Lu Hao's lips curled into a smile. The three of them are from second-rate families. With their corpses, I can sneak into their families without anyone knowing. No. At this moment, Fan Qing said coldly, ever since you annihilated the He family, the old monsters in the capital seem to have noticed something. It's better not to cause any trouble for now. Oh right, some time ago, the 6th to 12th ranked martial artists of the Ghost Talent Hall were all killed. The Hall Master asked you to investigate who did it, Fan Qing said as he suddenly remembered something. Those pieces of trash were killed. Lu Hao was stunned, unable to believe it. Although the 6th to 12th ranked martial artists of the Ghost Talent Hall were not strong, and there were many martial artists who could kill them, Lu Hao was still puzzled. Who would have the guts to kill 7 geniuses of the Ghost Talent Hall at once? Nodding, Fan Qing said, that's right, the Hall Master was furious. He ordered you to investigate this matter as soon as possible. Understood. Lu Hao took a deep breath and said in a low voice. If that's the case, the two of us should hurry back to the capital to avoid arousing the suspicions of the Alchemy Union. As he spoke, Fan Qing and Shen Yong turned to leave. However, just as they turned, they raised an eyebrow and stopped in their tracks. Whoosh! Not far away, a figure was speeding towards them. As they gazed at the figure that ceaselessly approached them, Fan Qing and Chen Yong's pupils constricted slightly because they noticed that the figure's speed was extremely swift, and it was even half a beat faster than them. After all, both of them were in the early primal core stage. They were the 3rd and 4th ranked geniuses of the Ghost Talent Hall. Who was this martial artist in front of them? Why was his speed so terrifying at such a young age? Ningyu, leave now. Chapter 308. Oh, there's a helper. Looking at the incoming martial artist, the corner of Lu Hao's lips curled up, and he smirked, let me meet him. Lu Hao, be careful, he's not simple, Fan Qing warned, seeing that Lu Hao was about to make a move. Understood. With that, Lu Hao dashed forward like a sharp sword. An early primal core warrior, Ningyu's eyes turned cold, and the Yuan Qi in his consciousness swept out and gathered on his wrist. His speed did not slow down, but increased, arriving before Lu Hao in an instant. Then, 2 fists that contained violent Yuan Qi collided with each other. Crack. Ah! The sound of cracking, accompanied by a pig's squeal, rang out in the area. Ningyu did not stop there. Instead, he swung his fist again. His fist gradually enlarged in Lu Hao's eyes, and finally smashed into Lu Hao's chest. Crack. Crack. Lu Hao had already suffered serious injuries from that blow. Against Ningyu's fist, he was naturally defenseless. 2 consecutive crisp sounds rang out, and Lu Hao's body flew back several feet, landing heavily on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. In the distance, seeing Lu Hao's quick defeat, Fan Qing and Shen Yong's expressions darkened. Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them dashed out and arrived in front of Lu Hao almost instantly. They then brought Lu Hao to the side. Fart! Lu Hao had already broken 2 of his ribs, and now that he was dragged away by Shen Yong, he suffered another injury. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, his face as ugly as a pig's liver. Damn it, I only have 30% of my peak strength. Clenching his fists, Lu Hao glared at Ningyu viciously, wishing he could chop Ningyu into pieces. The last time he failed to cultivate the art of devouring, it left a hidden injury in Lu Hao's body, causing him to only have 30% of his peak strength. If Lu Hao wanted to return to his peak condition, he must successfully cultivate the art of devouring, or his strength would never improve. Although he easily defeated Lu Hao, Ningyu did not let his guard down. Because he realized that the truly powerful ones were the two martial artists beside Lu Hao. With Ningyu's keen senses, he could naturally tell that Lu Hao was not at his peak condition. Therefore, defeating Lu Hao with ease was not a big deal. The two martial artists beside Lu Hao were different. The yuan qi in their bodies was vigorous and stable. With one look, one could tell that he was a powerful expert. Fortunately, I advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm, and also divided the phantom golden Dan into four. Fan Qing and Chen Yong's formidable strength caused Ningyu to gasp. If he had not advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm, he would not have been a match for any one of them. Even so, Ningyu was extremely careful. It would be fine if it was just one of them, but he didn't have much confidence in dealing with two at the same time. Kid, you injured Lu Hao. You have to leave something behind, Fan Qing said darkly. I have a lot of things on me. It depends on whether you have the strength to take them, Ningyu said coldly as he quietly gripped the soul-severing sword in his hand. Ha ha ha. Fan Qing laughed out loud, then changed the topic and said coldly, the things that I, Fan Qing, want to take, I have never failed. Since you are so arrogant, I will take your head. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Fan Qing rose from the ground with a whistling yuan qi gale around him. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Ningyu. Immediately, Fan Qing's right hand suddenly punched out, aiming at Ningyu's head. Kid, I have to say, you are really arrogant. You didn't even dodge my punch with 80% of my strength. Seeing that his fist was about to hit Ningyu's head, while Ningyu stood there in a daze, Fan Qing's mouth unnaturally curled up as he said sinisterly, "After image?" However, what happened next made Fan Qing's pupils shrink. Unknowingly, Ningyu had already appeared behind him. The soul-severing sword was raised and aimed at the back of his head. Feeling the strong wind coming from behind, Fan Qing did not have time to think and immediately moved his body to the side. Whoosh. Fortunately, Fan Qing moved his body in time, otherwise, his head would have been cut in half. It is impossible to beat Ningyu in speed. Gritting his teeth, Fan Qing decided not to compete with Ningyu in speed. Instead, he displayed the power of an early primal core practitioner, wanting to overwhelm Ningyu in terms of aura. Unbeknownst to him, to overwhelm Ningyu in terms of aura, even a peak primal core practitioner could not do it, unless it was a yin-yang realm practitioner, and the strength of his soul power was not lower than the 6th grade. Solitaire. Ningyu did not have time to waste with Fan Qing here. His powerful senses detected that the aura of the Red Devil in the distance was weak. If he was not treated in time, it was likely that his spiritual body would be damaged. The spiritual body of a sword was different from a practitioner. Once the spiritual body was damaged, it would require the use of the physical body to fully recover. Now that the physical body of the Red Devil was trapped in the pendant, it would be impossible for him to come out in a short period of time. Therefore, Ningyu had to save the Red Devil immediately and treat him. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The yuan qi in a virtual golden core burst out and gathered on the soul-severing sword. The soul-severing sword vibrated at an extremely strange frequency as Ningyu waved his palm. Then, the soul-severing sword flew out of Ningyu's hand and floated in mid-air. Buzz buzz. The next moment, a sword wave containing a monstrous yuan qi broke away from the soul-severing sword. Whoosh whoosh. The moment the solitaire appeared, it dispersed Fan Qing's early primal core aura. After dispersing Fan Qing's aura, the solitaire did not stop. Instead, it sped up again and pierced Fan Qing's chest under his horrified gaze. Corpse light shield. At the critical moment, Fan Qing forced out a drop of blood essence and quickly formed a seal with both hands. As Fan Qing's palm moved quickly, a dark green light shield formed in front of him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as the dark green light shield formed, the solitaire in mid-air appeared in front of Fan Qing. Under his gloomy gaze, it collided with the dark green light shield. What happened next was a little beyond Ningyu's expectations. In the confrontation with the dark green light shield, the solitaire did not gain the upper hand. Instead, it seemed to be at a slight disadvantage. This corpse light shield is actually formed by the yin-qi of the dead. Staring at the dark green light shield in front of Fan Qing, Ningyu could not help but gasp. This was the first time he had seen so much yin-qi of the dead. Whoosh! At this moment, the corpse light shield and the solitaire disappeared at the same time. The disappearance of the solitaire did not affect Ningyu, but Fan Qing was not so lucky. In order to use the corpse light shield, he not only used all the yin-qi of the dead in his body, but also burned a drop of blood essence. The disappearance of the corpse light shield meant that he had completely lost these things. To Fan Qing, even if he lost his blood essence, he could still cultivate it back. Chapter 309. Shenyong, if you don't strike now, when will you? Forcefully suppressing the restless yuan qi in his body, Fan Qing shouted at Shenyong, "This kid is not simple, let's work together to take him down." Understood. Shenyong had watched the entire exchange between Ningyu and Fan Qing. He was also a little shocked by Ningyu's formidable strength. In the Ghost Talent Palace, Fan Qing was ranked 4th, and he was ranked 3rd. Although his strength was a little stronger than Fan Qing's, it was not by much. If Ningyu could defeat Fan Qing, he could naturally defeat him. Soul thrust. Shenyong's eyes turned cold as he rushed forward. At the same time, the soul power in his body swept out like crazy, transforming into a flying soul sword that pierced towards Ningyu. The strength of an early-stage 5th-grade soul power, sensing the strength of Shenyong's soul power, Ningyu could not help but smile. "I can even devour Wei Zed's peak 5th-grade soul power. If you use your soul power to fight me, you will only die." With a low growl, Ningyu held the Absolute Soul Sword in his hand and rushed forward. The Absolute Soul Sword was a devouring flying sword and had an extremely powerful devouring ability. Shenyong's soul power was only at the early stage 5th grade. Although it had transformed into the shape of a flying soul sword, in Ningyu's opinion, it would not be difficult to devour it. My flying soul sword can even shatter a mid-grade heaven-level flying sword, not to mention your low-grade heaven-level flying sword. Shenyong snorted, as if he could see the Absolute Soul Sword being shattered. After all, Shenyong was an early-stage primal core martial artist. His sharp senses had long discovered that the Absolute Soul Sword was a low-grade heaven-level flying sword, but he did not know that it was a devouring flying sword. If Shenyong had known that the Absolute Soul Sword was a devouring flying sword, he would not have used the soul thrust. Kai Kai. The next moment, the Absolute Soul Sword and Shenyong's flying soul sword collided. Ah! As the two collided, Shenyong let out a scream and hurriedly tried to retract the flying soul sword. This was because he discovered that a powerful attractive force was being emitted from the Absolute Soul Sword. This suction force was extremely terrifying. It was so terrifying that it absorbed 1/10 of his soul force in an instant. At this rate of absorption, it wouldn't be long before his soul force was sucked dry. As the third-ranked genius of the Ghost Talent Hall, Shenyong had an extremely important mission in the capital. If his soul force was devoured, or if he suffered a heavy injury, it would be a fatal obstacle for him to complete his mission. Therefore, no matter what, Shenyong had to ensure that his soul power was intact. Damn it! However, no matter how hard Shenyong tried, he could not retract his soul power into his body. This discovery caused Chen Yong's pupils to constrict slightly, and he revealed a terrified expression. Cursing inwardly, Shenyong shouted at Fan Qing and Lu Hao, "Both of you, quickly unleash your soul energy and help me deal with this devouring flying sword." Devouring flying sword. Upon hearing Shenyong's words, Fan Qing and Lu Hao's expressions changed drastically. They also knew how terrifying the devouring flying sword was. Those who went against the devouring flying sword never had a good ending. In the best-case scenario, one's soul force would be devoured, and in the worst-case scenario, one would turn into an idiot. However, Shenyong was ranked 3rd in the Ghost Talent Hall, and he was also the leader of this mission. The two of them were helpless, and could only obey his orders and unleash their soul force. However, Fan Qing and Lu Hao held back, and did not unleash their full soul force. Instead, they only used 80% of their soul force. At this moment, there was only one thought in their minds: where there is life, there is hope. One peak rank 4 soul force, 2 early-stage rank 5 soul forces. Initially, Ningyu's soul force had the absolute upper hand, and it would not take more than a quarter of an hour to completely devour Shenyong's soul force. However, with the addition of Fan Qing and Lu Hao's soul force, the battle was instantly reversed, and Ningyu's soul force was slightly at a disadvantage. Seeing this, Ningyu did not dare to be careless, and quickly controlled the peak rank 4 soul force to pour out, and entered the soul-severing sword in one go. With the subsequent replenishment of soul force, coupled with the soul-severing sword's ability to devour flying swords, Ningyu once again regained the upper hand. Although Ningyu had the upper hand, it was extremely difficult to devour the soul force of Shenyong and the others. At the very least, he would not be able to succeed in a short period of time. Turning his head to look at the fallen red devil, Ningyu gritted his teeth, and from his sea of consciousness, 4 illusory golden cores swept out, and floated above his head. Illusory golden cores. 4 illusory golden cores. A martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm actually has an illusory golden core. Seeing the illusory golden cores above Ningyu's head, Shenyong and the other 2 were instantly dumbfounded, and stood rooted to the ground. As the peerless geniuses of the Ghost Talent Hall, they had seen many martial artists, and had also seen many geniuses that were comparable to them. However, in their impression, they had never seen someone as abnormal as Ningyu, who was only in the middle stage of the true martial realm, and was able to cultivate an illusory golden core. Secret technique. It must be some kind of secret technique, he can't possibly have 4 illusory golden cores. Suddenly, Shenyong shouted, "Let Ningyu see what a real golden core is." As his voice fell, a fist-sized golden core swept out of Shenyong's body, and floated above his head. Swoosh! Swoosh! At the same time, Fan Qing and Lu Hao also released their golden cores, which hovered above their heads. Compete with him in terms of yuan qi density. Whoosh! In the next moment, the yuan qi in Shenyong's golden core poured out, and attacked Ningyu without a care for his life. As for Fan Qing and Lu Hao, they were not idle either. The yuan qi in both of their golden cores also swept out, and madly rushed towards Ningyu. Seeing the 3 sudden yuan qi light waves, Ningyu was not sad, but happy, and the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. Boom! 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 Following that, 3 equally powerful yuan qi light waves swept out from Ningyu's illusory golden core, and under the surprised gazes of Shenyong and the others, collided with their yuan qi light waves. Kaboom! The moment the 6 powerful yuan qi light waves collided, the heavens and the earth seemed to dim. The dimming of the heavens and the earth did not stop the yuan qi waves from spreading out. Whoosh! Seeing that the yuan qi waves were about to hit him, Shenyong displayed the corpse light shield, and enveloped the 3 of them within it. Whoosh! The yuan qi light waves collided with the corpse light shield, and disappeared in an instant. Ningyu, this yuan qi wave is enough to make you suffer. After withstanding the yuan qi wave, the corner of Shenyong's mouth curled up, and he looked at Ningyu with a sinister smile. Don't worry about it. To deal with this yuan qi wave, Ningyu had already thought of a countermeasure. A powerful beam of light swept out from his 4th illusory golden core, and collided with the yuan qi wave. The result was unsurprising. In the blink of an eye, the yuan qi wave turned into nothingness, and disappeared without a trace. If you were mid-primal core martial artists, I might be a little afraid, but now. Chapter 310. Page, if you want us to die here, let's see if you have the ability to do so. With a cold snort, Shenyong opened his mouth and a ray of cold light shot out from it, heading straight for Ningyu's head. Kai Kai. The cold light was extremely fast, leaving behind an afterimage in the air. Dark gold spirit corpse, spectral spirit corpse. Seeing that the cold light was about to reach him, Ningyu summoned the dark gold spirit corpse and spectral spirit corpse. Although the dark gold spirit corpse and spectral spirit corpse only had the strength of a half-step primal core realm, their use was extremely obvious at this juncture. Whether it was him, Shenyong or the rest, none of them dared to move recklessly. Go, tear Shenyong to shreds for me. The instant the dark gold spirit corpse appeared, Ningyu shouted in a low voice. Ming Bai. A powerful voice slowly sounded out from the dark gold spirit corpse's mouth, then it suddenly dashed out and charged at Shenyong. As for the spectral spirit corpse, it blocked in front of Ningyu, and under Chen Yong's shocked gaze, it swallowed the cold light thrown out into its stomach. Gulp. The spectral spirit corpse's actions caused Chen Yong to swallow a mouthful of saliva. The cold light he threw out was extremely corrosive, and if an ordinary martial artist touched it, they would lose a layer of skin even if they didn't die. However, ghost corpses were different. Ghost corpses were modified by ghost spirit pills. Unless a powerful force was used to shatter the ghost corpse's head, it would be like an undying body and could continue to fight. While Chen Yong was slightly stunned, the dark gold spirit corpse had already arrived in front of him, its steel-like fist smashing towards his head. Damn it! Secretly cursing, Chen Yong could only raise his right arm and clash head-on with the dark gold spirit corpse. Catcher! Before he fought with Ningyu, Chen Yong could smash a half-step primal core realm dark gold spirit corpse with one punch. After exchanging blows with Ningyu, he was completely restricted. He didn't dare to use his soul energy or Yuan Qi. Losing these two powerful aids, his arm was almost smashed by the dark gold spirit corpse's heavy fist. Ah! A squeal that sounded like a pig being slaughtered rang out in the area, causing the pupils of Fan Qing and Lu Hao to shrink, revealing expressions of fear. However, Fan Qing and Lu Hao did not dare to retract their soul force and Jindan. They understood the principle of starting with a spurt of energy, then weakening by the second, and then exhausting by the third. It could be said that as long as they retracted their soul force, Ningyu would follow up with another attack. At that time, it wouldn't be as simple as facing the dark gold spirit corpse, and it was even to the extent that their lives would be in danger. Shen Yong, quickly think of a way. If this goes on, we'll be blasted into idiots by the dark gold spirit corpse sooner or later. Fan Qing shouted with an extremely anxious tone. I'm King thinking too, Shen Yong shouted in a low voice. The anxiety on his face was no less than Fan Qing's. Bang! Bang! At that moment, the dark golden spirit corpse and the spectre corpse burst out at the same time. One charged at Fan Qing, while the other charged at Lu Hao. Fan Qing and Shen Yong were naturally unable to withstand the dark gold spirit corpse and spectre corpse. Two crisp sounds rang out in succession. Both of their chests were hit, and their bodies were on the verge of collapse. Oh, right. Suddenly, Shen Yong seemed to have thought of something. He hurriedly scolded Lu Hao, didn't you King catch a black dog? Hurry up and let it out. Use it to threaten Ningyu. CK, why didn't I think of that? Lu Hao's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly took out a storage ring. He carefully separated a bit of soul force into the storage ring in an attempt to release the Dark Emperor. Ningyu was here to save the Red Fiends, and the Red Fiends were in cahoots with the Dark Emperor. From this, it seemed that as long as he used the Dark Emperor to threaten Ningyu, Ningyu would definitely give in. In Lu Hao's mind, as long as he could force Ningyu to withdraw his soul force, everything would be very easy. Dark Gold Spirit Corpse, Spectre Corpse, snatch that storage ring. The moment Lu Hao took out the storage ring, Ningyu's heart sank. He said in a low voice, use all methods, including self-destruction. Ningyu also knew the severity of the situation. No matter what, he had to snatch the storage ring before the Dark Emperor came out, or the consequences would be dire. Self-destruction? Hearing Ningyu's words, Lu Hao could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. How powerful would the self-destruction of a half-step Yuan Dan stage Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectre Corpse be? Under their self-destruction, even a mid-Yuan Dan stage martial artist would not be able to escape unscathed. Ningyu, if you dare to let them self-destruct, I will dare to kill that damned dog. Lu Hao clenched his teeth as he held the storage ring in his hand. At most, we will perish together. Ningyu was betting that Lu Hao would not dare to kill the Dark Emperor. If he won the bet, there was still a chance of survival. If he lost the bet, at most, they would perish together. Fighting 1 against 3 might seem crazy, but Ningyu knew that if this continued, it would be very disadvantageous for him. After all, there were 3 of them, and he was alone. He had no help. If we perish together, so be it. Who's afraid of who? Seeing Lu Hao's expression change, Shen Yong shouted. Fine, you forced me to do this. Clenching his fists, Ningyu growled, Dark Gold Spirit Corpse, Spectre Corpse, self-destruct. I don't believe you dare to let them self-destruct. Damn, are you for real? Shunyong seemed to have a card up his sleeve. However, before he could finish his sentence, he saw something that made him extremely frightened. Not far away, the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectre Corpse gradually expanded. In the end, they expanded to the limit. Rumble. In the next moment, the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectre Corpse self-destructed simultaneously. An earth-shattering explosion sounded in the area. Quick, run. Shunyong was not an indecisive person. In the instant that the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectre Corpse self-destructed, he retracted his soul power, rose from the ground, and fled into the distance. As for Fan Qing and Lu Hao, they also retracted their soul power and fled behind Shunyong. Lu Hao even threw the storage ring in his hand into the air, fleeing for his life. Poochie. 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 However, they had obviously underestimated the power of the two half-step primal core realm corpses explosion. They had only fled a few meters when they were hit by the shockwave of the explosion, and fell to the ground like a kite with its string cut. Swoosh. On the other hand, Ningyu had poured all his soul power into the phantom armor, and the yuan qi under his feet burned like crazy. Raising his speed to the limit, he turned into a shadow in the air, and caught the storage ring that Lu Hao threw out. Swoosh. Subsequently, Ningyu turned around and flew toward the Red Devil. As he flew, Ningyu shouted, "Red Devil, quickly enter the soul-severing sword." Buzz. The Red Devil used the last bit of his strength to transform into his original form, and when the shockwave of the explosion was about to reach him, he entered the soul-severing sword. Enter the storage ring. Subsequently, Ningyu placed the soul-severing sword and Lu Hao's storage ring into the Sumeru storage ring. Rumble. After doing all this, the shockwave from the explosion of the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectre Corpse had already reached Ningyu. Facing such a powerful shockwave, Ningyu did not dare to be careless. He quickly enlarged the phantom armor, and his body shrunk into the phantom armor. The phantom armor was not only a flying treasure, but also a defensive treasure of the Phantom Rat clan. Chapter 311. Crack. The aftermath of the explosion hit the phantom armor in an instant. The powerful shockwave caused cracks to appear on the mirage armor. Moreover, as time passed, the cracks continued to expand. Damn it! Hang in there. Seeing this, Ningyu quickly wrapped the yuan in his sea of consciousness around the surface of the phantom armor, hoping that it could help the phantom armor to offset some of the impact of the aftermath. Although the phantom armor was the treasure of the Phantom Rat clan, it was only a lower-grade heaven tier. If the phantom armor was a middle-grade heaven tier or even upper-grade heaven tier, Ningyu would naturally not be so worried. Ningyu would be heartbroken if he lost the heaven-ranked low-grade phantom armor, Kai. However, Ningyu realized that just as his yuan wrapped around the surface of the phantom armor, it was dispersed by the powerful aftermath. In other words, using yuan to block the aftermath was not realistic. Soul power. At this juncture, Ningyu could not care so much anymore. He immediately took out his peak grade 4 soul power and attached it to the phantom armor. Soul damage could slowly recover, but if a treasure like the phantom armor was destroyed, it would be gone in the future. After all, in this world, there were only 3 phantom armors. Relatively speaking, the defensive effect of soul power was much better than yuan qi. With the help of soul power, at least the phantom armor could be preserved. However, according to Ningyu's guess, if he preserved the phantom armor, he would lose at least a quarter of his soul power. Puff puff. The aftermath of the explosion of the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and the Spectre Corpse came and went quickly. 3 minutes later, the aftermath of the explosion had completely dissipated. After the aftermath dissipated, this area could only be described with one word: a complete mess. The surrounding trees were uprooted, and the ground was bare and empty. It could be said that within a few miles, other than Ningyu and the rest, not even a bird's feather could be seen. Who? Letting out a long breath, Ningyu shook his wrist and took out the soul-severing sword. Whoosh. Then, the Red Devil turned into a shadow and appeared in front of Ningyu. Ningyu, there's not much time left. Hurry up and give me all the crystals on you. I want to enter the pendant. The moment the red fiend came out, he impatiently said to Ningyu, "You want to enter the pendant?" Hearing this, Ningyu was slightly startled. He immediately swung his sleeve and held the semicircular pendant in his hand. Xiao. Seeing the semicircular pendant, Hongmo's eyes lit up. Without any hesitation, he turned into a shadow and entered the pendant. The Red Devil's actions caused Ningyu to be stunned on the spot. He didn't understand why the heavily injured Red Fiend would enter the pendant. Could it be that he wanted to communicate with his main body? Thinking of this, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he knew that the situation was not good. The Red Devil's main body was trapped in the Big Dipper array. Ningyu had already witnessed the power of the Big Dipper array. It was extremely powerful. The heavily injured Red Devil couldn't even enter the third layer of the pendant, let alone break the Big Dipper array. "Hongmo, come out. I want to check for you." Ningyu hurriedly inserted his soul power into the pendant, wanting to stop the Red Devil. However, Ningyu's soul power did not see the Red Devil in the first two layers of the pendant. It was only until the third layer that he saw the Red Devil weakly lying in front of the Big Dipper array. "Ningyu, I can feel that the main body is calling for me." Raising his head to look at Ningyu, the Red Devil used all his strength to say, "Please, I'm begging you this time. I'll pay you back double in the future." "What are you talking about? Your problem is my problem." With a low grunt, Ningyu put all the origin crystals on him into a storage bag and handed it to the Red Devil. Ningyu had a total of 12 million origin crystals and 90 million high-grade origin crystals on him. Giving so many origin crystals to the Red Devil, and possibly being used up by the Red Devil, it had to be said that Ningyu was really bold. However, in Ningyu's eyes, this was nothing. For a friend, he could do anything. After doing all this, Ningyu's soul power quietly withdrew from the third layer of the pendant. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu took out Lu Hao's storage ring, and then used the remaining soul power to crazily attack the storage ring. The storage ring belonged to Lu Hao. If Ningyu wanted to break the storage ring, he naturally needed to erase Lu Hao's soul power first. Now that Lu Hao was heavily injured, he had no way to resist. In just a moment, the soul imprint that he had engraved on the storage ring was erased by Ningyu. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Hao's soul imprint was erased from the storage ring, a black figure scuttled out from inside. "I really King suffocated to death. If I didn't come out, I would have suffocated to death." After the black figure came out, he first took a deep breath, and then slowly exhaled. That expression could only be described with the word awesome. "Dark Emperor, are you alright?" The black figure was none other than the Dark Emperor. However, the current him did not look like the state that a prisoner should have. "Of course I'm fine. If it wasn't for the fact that I swallowed too much, causing my combat power to drop, how could those old fools have caught me?" The Dark Emperor raised his head and said, "This time, I benefited from a disaster. I digested all the things that I swallowed in the storage ring, and my cultivation advanced from half-step origin core realm to origin core realm. My strength has greatly increased. Oh right, where are those old fools?" Suddenly, the Dark Emperor's eyes turned and looked around. When his gaze landed on Lu Hao, the Dark Emperor frowned. This was because he sensed an extremely familiar aura from Lu Hao. "You are old fools he?" The Dark Emperor asked uncertainly. "P2e. You're the old fools he. Your whole family are old fools." Although he was seriously injured, Lu Hao's temper did not decrease at all. "Dark Emperor, since you still have the ability to fight, quickly finish off these 3 corpse yin sect martial artists. If you delay, something unexpected will happen." Ningyu wanted to leave as soon as possible to recover his soul power, so he naturally did not want to stay here any longer. "Hehe, since you're trash from the corpse yin sect, you should all die." With a sinister laugh, the Dark Emperor rose from the ground and flapped his purple gold wings. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Lu Hao. "Your mouth is the most despicable, so I'll start with you." The Dark Emperor raised the corner of his mouth and used his sharp claws to claw at Lu Hao's lips. Damn it! Seeing that the Dark Emperor was about to reach him, Lu Hao cursed inwardly and hurriedly said to Chen Yong and Fan Qing, "At this time, why are you still holding back your trump cards? Hurry up and make your move. Where there's life, there's hope. Lu Hao knew that Chen Yong and Fan Qing had an important mission on this trip to the capital. They definitely had trump cards that the Hall Master had given them. What was the use of having trump cards when they were about to die? Crack, crack. Chen Yong clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. His expression was extremely gloomy. Let's go all out. Chapter 312. Crack. As soon as the black pill entered his stomach, Shen Yong's bones started to crack as if they were broken. Not long after, Shen Yong's body grew a meter taller and became a giant. After his body grew bigger, Shen Yong's aura also grew stronger. Early Yuan core stage. Peak early Yuan core stage. Mid Yuan core stage. Peak mid Yuan core stage. In just a few seconds, Shen Yong's aura increased from the early Yuan core stage to the peak mid Yuan core stage and continued to grow stronger. 3 seconds later, a muffled sound was heard and Shen Yong's aura increased from the peak mid Yuan core stage to the late Yuan core stage. Whoosh. At the same time, Fan Qing also took out a black pill and swallowed it in front of the Dark Emperor. Fan Qing's result was not much different from Shen Yong's. In an instant, his cultivation increased from the early Yuan core stage to the late Yuan core stage. At this moment, the Dark Emperor had already arrived in front of Lu Hao and its sharp claws tore Lu Hao's lips in half, causing blood to flow. Dark Emperor, quickly finish the battle. If we delay, there might be changes. Shen Yong and the others were the top 5 geniuses of the corpse sect and had a high status in the corpse sect. Moreover, this place was very close to the capital, so Ningyu did not want to stay here for too long. Furthermore, the self-destruction of the Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Ghost Spirit Corpse would definitely attract experts. If experts from the corpse sect came, the consequences would be unimaginable. With this in mind, Ningyu did not care about repairing his damaged soul force and immediately joined the battle with the soul-breaking sword. Ningyu, go kill Lu Hao. Leave these 2 pieces of trash to me. The Dark Emperor flapped the purple gold wings on his back and floated in the air. Comparing body size with me, you are destined to lose miserably. The corner of the Dark Emperor's lips curled up and his body gradually expanded. As a member of the Sky-Devouring Dog clan, the Dark Emperor could already expand his body several times when he was at the peak of the true martial state. Now that he had advanced to the early Yuan core stage, he could expand his body countless times. Whoosh. After his body expanded, the Dark Emperor swung his tail towards Shen Yong and Fan Qing. Damn it! Lu Hao, why didn't you tell us it was a heaven-devouring hound? Shen Yong's pupils constricted as he looked at the huge tail sweeping towards him. He gathered all his essence into his arm, hoping to block the Dark Emperor's powerful attack. As a peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Hall, Shen Yong naturally knew how powerful the heaven-devouring hound was. Furthermore, this Sky-Devouring Dog was the emperor of the Sky-Devouring Dog clan, the purple-gold Sky-Devouring Dog. Even though his cultivation level had risen to the late primal core stage, Shen Yong did not dare to be careless. The slightest bit of carelessness would result in their deaths. Woo! With his lips torn by the Dark Emperor's sharp claws, Lu Hao could only make muffled sounds. Stop whining, I'll send you to see your old ancestor Corpse Yin now. At that moment, Ningyu appeared in front of Lu Hao. Under the latter's horrified gaze, the soul-severing sword in his hand slashed down. Lu Hao was only at the early primal core stage, and he was severely injured in the explosion just now, causing his strength to drop to a freezing point. Coupled with the powerful blow from the Dark Emperor, he had completely lost the ability to fight. The current Lu Hao, not to mention Ningyu, even a normal early true martial realm martial artist could kill him. Ningyu had already given Lu Hao a lot of face by using his full strength. The next moment, a scream like that of a pig being slaughtered rang out in the area. Pu. Ningyu slowly withdrew the soul-severing sword from Lu Hao's neck and said calmly, with the 6th to 12th ranked martial artists of the Ghost Talent Hall accompanying you, you won't be lonely. They were all killed by you. Puff. Lu Hao's pupils constricted, and he raised his right hand to point at Ningyu. He wanted to say something, but before he could finish, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. At that moment, the 5th-ranked genius of the Ghost Talent Hall of the Corpse Insect, the early primal core stage Lu Hao, died a horrible death. After killing Lu Hao, Ningyu quickly shifted his gaze to the main battlefield. Kaboom! In mid-air, the Dark Emperor and Shen Yong were fighting fiercely. They were actually evenly matched. Although the Dark Emperor did not show any signs of weakness, Ningyu had a worried look on his face. Just now, he had secretly released his soul power to detect the situation in the surroundings. In the direction of the capital, Ningyu could faintly sense two strong auras wavering. They seemed to want to come over, but they seemed to be afraid of something. Once they made up their minds to come over, it would be a disaster for Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, leave Fan Qing to me. You use all your strength to kill Shen Yong. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu rose from the ground and rushed towards Fan Qing with the soul-severing sword in his hand. You only have 10 minutes, because I can only last 10 minutes against Fan Qing. Ningyu had lost a quarter of his soul power in the explosion just now, and Fan Qing had raised his cultivation level to the late primal core stage. Therefore, to be able to last 10 minutes in Fan Qing's hands was already Ningyu's limit. 10 minutes, that's enough. Originally, the Dark Emperor had a bellyful of anger, but he had no way to kill Shen Yong and the rest. Now that Ningyu had joined the battle, the pressure on him had been greatly reduced. He could fight to a draw when fighting 1 against 2. Now that it was a 1-on-1, the Dark Emperor was confident that he could finish off Shen Yong in 3 minutes. Lad, if you want to kill me, you have to have the ability to do so. Seeing that Ningyu was rushing towards him, Fan Qing's lips curled up, and he said to Shen Yong, "Give me 3 minutes, I'll come help you in 3 minutes. Boasting shamelessly. You want to defeat me in 3 minutes? You must be dreaming." With a cold snort, Ningyu waved the soul-severing sword in his hand and slashed out in an instant. Solitaire. As the soul-severing sword slashed out, a shocking sword wave appeared in the air and attacked Fan Qing. Solitaire was Ningyu's strongest move at this stage, and it was even more powerful than the Underworld Dominator palm. Although it was only the Solitaire at the initial success realm, it was still capable of withstanding Fan Qing's powerful attack. After all, Ningyu did not intend to kill Fan Qing. He just wanted to stall with him for 10 minutes. Essence Chi Wave. Facing such a powerful sword wave in midair, Fan Qing grabbed the void with his palm, and a stream of essence was immediately caught in his hand. With a casual fling, this stream of essence headed for Solitaire. TSK. The sword wave and the essence chi wave collided, and both sides dissipated between heaven and earth. Lad, you do have some skills, but if that's all you have, at this point, Fan Qing paused for a moment and then said, "Then die." As soon as he said that, Fan Qing's body could not help but tremble. This trembling did not last long, and it stopped when a small jade bottle appeared in Fan Qing's hand. Corpsean pill. Looking at the jade bottle in Fan Qing's hand, Ningyu's pupils constricted, and he could not help but take a few steps back. Ningyu had seen what was in the jade bottle in his previous life. It was the Corpsean pill. Chapter 313. Strictly speaking, the corpse pill was considered a 7th-grade elixir. The most terrifying thing about the corpse pill was its strong corrosive ability. The corpse pill in Fan Qing's hand was only a low-grade corpse pill. Even so, Ningyu did not dare to let it stick to his body. As long as the powder of the corpse pill stuck to him, even if he had the physical strength of a primal core adept, he would instantly turn into nothingness. Swoosh. At this moment, the jade bottle in Fan Qing's hand suddenly flew out and attacked Ningyu at an extremely shocking speed. In a flash, the jade bottle arrived in front of Ningyu. Explode. With a low shout from Fan Qing's mouth, the jade bottle suddenly exploded. Peng. After the jade bottle exploded, the corpse pill inside seemed to have received a strong impact and instantly turned into powder. Not good. Seeing this, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly waved the soul-severing sword and in an instant, several sword gleams appeared. Whoosh. The sword gleams did not attack, but instead gathered around Ningyu, helping him block the powder of the corpse pill. Kai. Ningyu had obviously underestimated the powerful corrosive ability of the corpse pill. The sword gleams that he had released only lasted for 3 seconds before completely turning into nothingness and dissipating from the heavens and earth. Damn it! Cursing, Ningyu gathered Yuan Qi at his feet and quickly retreated. What should I do? In the process of retreating, Ningyu's eyes darted around, thinking of a countermeasure. That's right. Suddenly, Ningyu's eyes lit up and he took out the pill-quenching furnace. Swallow it. With a loud shout, Ningyu injected his soul power into the pill-quenching furnace, causing it to expand several times. Then, a terrifying suction force rushed out from the pill-quenching furnace. Under Fan Qing's horrified gaze, the surrounding powder of the corpse pill was all swallowed up. Everything before him made Fan Qing somewhat dumbfounded. The trump card that he was so proud of was actually absorbed by a broken pill-quenching furnace. This was 2F** king ridiculous. Fan Qing, 2 minutes have passed, but I'm standing here safe and sound. Putting the furnace into the storage ring, Ningyu said lightly, "Brat, even without the yin corpse pill, I still have 100 ways to kill you." Fan Qing's expression was extremely ugly and gloomy to the extreme. He didn't expect the corpse yin pill to fail to kill Ningyu. However, he did not mind. After all, with the help of elixirs, his cultivation level had risen to the late Yuan Dan stage, and he could still hold on for an hour. Ningyu was just at the early stage of the true martial realm. In terms of raw strength, he was much stronger than Ningyu. Next, I will let you know what is the realm of. However, before Fan Qing could finish speaking, his expression changed greatly. Poochie. Not far away, the Dark Emperor seized the opportunity and fiercely stabbed his front claws into Shenyong's heart. Lowering his head to look at the dog claws in his heart, Shenyong opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but his body fell straight to the back. At this moment, Shenyong, who was ranked 3rd in the Ghost Cai Hall of the Corpse Sect, died in battle. Seeing Shenyong being killed, Fan Qing's eyes were filled with disbelief. Although he knew how powerful the Dark Emperor was, in his opinion, no matter how powerful the Dark Emperor was, it was impossible to kill Shenyong in 2 minutes. Shenyong had also swallowed elixirs to raise his cultivation level to the late Yuan Dan stage. How did the Dark Emperor do it, killing Shenyong in 2 minutes? Swoosh! After killing Shenyong, the Dark Emperor did not stay in place. Instead, he flapped his purple-gold wings and quickly flew over. Not good. Only by capturing Ningyu will we have a chance of survival. Fan Qing was not a fool. Shenyong was defeated by the Dark Emperor. If he fought with the Dark Emperor, he would definitely not have a good ending. If he ran, he would definitely not be able to escape. The only thing he could do now was to capture Ningyu and use him to threaten the Dark Emperor. Solitaire. The moment the Dark Emperor killed Shenyong, Ningyu waved the broken soul sword in his hand and slashed out 2 powerful sword waves. The Dark Emperor had successfully killed Shenyong. Ningyu knew that he only needed to hold on for 3 seconds, because after 3 seconds, the Dark Emperor would arrive here. 2 powerful solitaire formed and stopped in front of Ningyu. Kai. At the same time, Fan Qing arrived in front of Ningyu. His fist brought with it a strong gust of wind and instantly landed on the solitaire. The first second. The solitaire swayed a little, but it was still intact and stood in front of Ningyu. The second. A solitaire was destroyed. The third second. The second solitaire swayed a little. The fourth second. Just when Fan Qing raised his right hand and was about to attack the second solitaire, he saw Ningyu disappear from his sight and was replaced by a huge dog paw. Corpse Sect bastard, remember, it was your grandfather who killed you. The Emperor of the Dark World smiled, and then his claws quickly slapped down. Under Fan Qing's horrified gaze, he slapped his face. Stab. 5 bloody claw marks appeared on Fan Qing's cheeks. Fan Qing was a little dazed and his body was on the verge of collapse. Boring. Shrugging, the Dark Emperor's body floated in the air and pressed down on Fan Qing's body. Poochie. At this moment, Fan Qing, who was ranked 4th in the Corpse Sect's Ghost Cai Palace, was killed. Up until now, the martial artists ranked 3rd to 12th in the Corpse Sect's Ghost Cai Palace had all been killed by Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. After losing 10 peerless geniuses, One could imagine how angry the palace master of the Ghost Cai Palace was. Hihi, these three are all peerless geniuses of the corpse sect. They must have treasures on them. Let me check. The Dark Emperor chuckled and walked toward Shenyong. He didn't have time to search Shenyong's body. Now that he had time, the Dark Emperor couldn't miss this opportunity. Dark Emperor, fast. Not good. Leave quickly. Originally, Ningyu wanted to remind the Dark Emperor to hurry up, but when the words were about to come out of his mouth, his pupils constricted. His figure flashed and he flew away. What's going on? Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor was a little confused and turned his head to look. Holy F***ck. The Dark Emperor was shocked by what he saw. He even cursed out loud. The reason for that was because he noticed that there were two swiftly moving figures nearby, and they were rushing over at an astonishing speed. At their speed, they would arrive in at most 1 minute. Having just experienced a big battle, the Dark Emperor was not at his peak. Even if he was at his peak, he didn't dare to stay here. After all, he could feel that the cultivation of the two martial artists in the distance was at least at the peak of the primal core stage. It was even possible that they were at the yin-yang stage. The Dark Emperor knew that at his peak, he could at most fight to a draw with a late primal core stage martial artist. Against a peak primal core or even a yin-yang stage martial artist, there was only death. I'll let you guys off easy. The Dark Emperor glanced at Shenyong greedily, then rose from the ground and chased after Ningyu in a few leaps. Whoosh! 30 seconds later, two martial artists in black slowly landed in this area. When they saw the three corpses lying on the ground, their eyes revealed an extremely shocked expression. Chapter 314. These three people from the corpse sect are not simple. The younger of the two black-clothed cultivators looked at the three corpses on the ground and said, if I'm not wrong, they should be from the corpse sect's Ghost Talent Palace. The older cultivator frowned and said, that's right, they are indeed from the corpse sect's Ghost Talent Palace. Moreover, their ranking is not lower than the top 5. Top 5. Hearing this, the younger cultivator's heart skipped a beat and he was slightly surprised. The corpse sect's Ghost Talent Palace's martial artists were not weak, and since they dared to come to the capital, they must have a trump card. Who is it? To be able to kill 3 of the top 5 martial artists of the Ghost Talent Palace at once. This place is very close to the capital. Suddenly, the younger cultivator's expression changed and he said, don't tell me they want to ruin the alchemy competition. The alchemy competition was a grand event held by the Alchemy Union. At that time, all the alchemy unions in the Great Xia country would send people to participate. Almost all the alchemy geniuses in the Great Xia country had gathered at this grand event. Even Danwu College had been specially invited to participate. If the corpse sect caused trouble, the consequences would be unimaginable. I have received reliable information that the corpse sect will definitely ruin this alchemy competition. The older cultivator said in a deep voice, immediately return to the capital and prepare the defenses. We must ensure that nothing goes wrong during the alchemy competition. Swish, swish. As soon as they finished speaking, the two martial artists' figures flashed and dashed towards the capital. Buzz. Not long after they disappeared, the space around them wriggled, and a man in a white robe quietly appeared. Looking at the 3 corpses on the ground, the man in white's expression was extremely gloomy. The people of the Ghost Talent Palace are not so easy to kill. While muttering, a crack appeared around the man in white. He waved his hand and the corpses of Shenyong and the others were thrown into the crack. Swish. Immediately, the man in white also entered the crack and disappeared. Ayo, I'm so tired. In the dense forest, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor flew at full speed for 2 hours before stopping under a towering tree. The Dark Emperor sat down under a tree and gasped for breath. This is 2F** King regretful. Those 3 are geniuses of the corpse sect. No matter what, they should have at least 100 million high-grade origin crystals on them. Yet, those 2 experts got away with it. Don't think too much. Take advantage of the fact that this place is still safe to rest up. After that, we will rush back to the capital. Ningyu released his soul power. After confirming that this place was safe, He let out a sigh of relief. It's just that I've expended a lot of my energy. I'll be able to recover to my peak by devouring some origin crystals, the Dark Emperor said, waving his claws. Take out all the origin crystals you have. I'm going to devour them. I don't have a single crystal on me right now. Spreading his hands, Ningyu said, just now, I gave more than 10 million supreme-grade essence crystals to Hongmo F***CK. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor couldn't help but curse. More than 10 million supreme-grade essence crystals? If converted to high-grade essence crystals, wouldn't that be 1 billion? By the way, how is Hongmo now? Is his life in danger? The Dark Emperor was slightly worried when he mentioned Hongmo. He is on the 3rd level of the pendant. He said that he wants to communicate with his main body. I don't know if he will succeed. Ningyu also had some expectations for Hongmo. After all, Hongmo's main body's flying sword was of a very high grade. If Hongmo could benefit from this disaster, his strength would improve qualitatively. He could even give up on the soul-breaking sword and use Hongmo to fight his enemies. Without the essence crystals, I will need at least 10 days to half a month to recover to my peak. The Dark Emperor said helplessly. Oh right. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and took out 10 essence-gathering stones from his storage ring. These 10 essence-gathering stones were obtained by Ningyu when he killed Master Lung. He didn't pay much attention to them after putting them in his storage ring. Who would have thought that they would come in handy now? Dark Emperor, protect me. I'm going to set up an essence-gathering formation. With that said, Ningyu's figure flashed and he burrowed into the ground in front of the Dark Emperor. The commotion caused by setting up the essence-gathering formation on the surface was too great. Ningyu was afraid that it would attract trouble. If he set it up underground, it would avoid a lot of trouble. The Dark Emperor had witnessed the power of the essence-gathering formation before. When Ningyu took out the essence-gathering stones, he immediately released his perception to detect the situation around him. Bang! A while later, Ningyu burrowed out of the ground. Pa! After stabbing the last essence-gathering stone into the ground, Ningyu let out a long breath and said in a deep voice, I set up this essence-gathering formation in a hurry. It can't be compared to the essence-gathering formation under Master Lung's cave abode. Just make do with it. Hehe, this essence chi is enough. I'll be able to recover to my peak in 3 days at most. With a chuckle, the Dark Emperor sat cross-legged beside the essence-gathering stone and started to absorb the essence chi that was gathering from underground. Seeing that, Ningyu's mouth could not help but twitch a few times. Initially, he had planned to use the essence-gathering formation with the Dark Emperor. But from the looks of it now, he was thinking too much. The Dark Emperor alone could absorb all the essence-gathering formation's essence-gathering formation. He could only drink the northwest wind. Helpless, Ningyu could only take out the soul-breaking sword and planned to recover his damaged soul force first. In order to ensure that the phantom armor did not suffer fatal damage, Ningyu expended a quarter of his soul force to protect it. A quarter of soul force was not a lot, but it was not a small amount either. Luckily, there's a lot of pure soul force in the soul-breaking sword. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to recover to my peak in a short period of time. The soul-breaking sword contained half of Wei Zedi's soul force and half of Zhong Qianwen's soul force. With this pure soul power, Ningyu was even confident that he could go one step further and increase his soul power to the early stage of 5th grade. After all, his soul force had been maintained at peak grade 4 for a long time and was on the verge of breaking through. Swoosh! In the next moment, Ningyu's peak grade 4 soul force poured out and entered the soul-breaking sword. Although it was a little dangerous, Ningyu could not care less because it was not safe here. He had to recover to his peak quickly and return to the capital. Kai. The first thing Ningyu devoured was Zhong Qianwen's soul force. Zhong Qianwen's soul force was peak grade 4. Ningyu spent an hour to completely devour it. However, Zhong Qianwen's soul force only helped Ningyu to recover his damaged soul force. It did not help him break through to grade 5. After devouring Wei Zedi's soul force, I should have an 80% chance of advancing my soul force to early stage grade 5. Ningyu focused his eyes and devoured the remaining pure soul force in the soul-breaking sword with all his might. Pa. About 6 hours later, a dull sound rang out from the soul-breaking sword. Such a change caused Ningyu to reveal a delighted expression, and he hurriedly increased the speed of his devouring. Pa pa pa. Another 6 hours passed, and when 3 muffled sounds rang out, Ningyu abruptly stood up, and his soul power swept out from the absolute soul sword. Chapter 3:15. Finally, my soul power has reached the 5th grade. Feeling the strength of his soul power, Ningyu was ecstatic. Because his soul power had reached the 5th grade, it meant that he could practice the 5th form of the netherworld samsara palm, the rotating palm. Each form of the netherworld samsara palm was more powerful than the last. The 5th form, the rotating palm, was even more powerful. Based on Ningyu's prediction, if he could successfully practice the rotating palm, he would be able to put up a fight against an intermediate or advanced primal core warrior. After going through the rotating palm technique in his mind, Ningyu slowly closed his eyes. Whoosh! After a while, he suddenly opened his eyes. The 5th grade soul power above his head wrapped around his wrist and he struck out with his palm. Whoosh! A powerful palm print separated from Ningyu's palm, almost tearing the void apart with a sizzling sound. However, this palm print only advanced for a dozen meters before it dissipated between heaven and earth. No, the method of practice must be wrong. Ningyu was deep in thought. The rotating palm that he used was similar to the solitaire. It only had the form, but not the meaning. The rotating palm should give people a feeling of vicissitudes. If he used it casually, it would at most be slightly stronger than the dominating palm. Thinking of this, Ningyu once again formed a seal and used half of his soul power to practice the rotating palm. 10 minutes later, Ningyu used a quarter of his soul power to practice the rotating palm. Half an hour later, Ningyu used only a tenth of his soul power to practice the rotating palm. Boom! 3 hours later, Ningyu exerted some force in his legs and his body floated in mid-air. His hands were wrapped with a strand of soul power. In the next moment, Ningyu struck out 2 palm prints. Rotating palm. After the 2 palm imprints shot out, Ningyu gave a low roar, before the remaining spiritual energy within his body poured out, chasing after the 2 palm imprints. When Ningyu's remaining soul force reached the 2 palm imprints, the 2 rotating wheel palms exploded with a loud bang. The aftermath of the explosion was mixed with berserk soul power, and it spread in all directions. This is the real revolving palm. The first palm print looks like an ordinary attack, but the aftermath of the second explosion is the real revolving palm. Looking at the aftermath of the explosion in mid-air, Ningyu let out a long breath. Only now did he understand what the revolving wheel palm was. Even if he used all his soul power for the second time, others would not think that his soul power was related to the palm print. They would only foolishly think that he was going to use his soul power to fight. Soul-breaking sword. After successfully cultivating the 5th form of the netherworld samsara palm, Ningyu did not remain idle. Instead, he took out the absolute soul sword. The remaining yuan qi in his sea of knowledge poured into the absolute soul sword, and Ningyu slashed out with a sword wave. Solitaire. Solitaire was divided into 4 stages: initial success, intermediate success, greater success, and the final form. Right now, Ningyu had only cultivated solitaire to the initial success stage. The power of solitaire at the initial success stage was already so powerful. One could only imagine how abnormal the power of solitaire at the greater success stage would be. While Ningyu was cultivating solitaire with all his might, a few big things happened in the capital. First, 3 second-rate families discovered that their ancestor's soul tablet had shattered, which meant that their ancestor had died. This caused a huge commotion in the capital. One must know that the 3 second-rate families were very close to the He family. Their ancestor had said that he was going to help the He family's ancestor, but now that he had died, everyone was panicking. It was rumored that the black dog that killed the He family was from the corpse sect. This caused many people to speculate that the 3 second-rate families' ancestor had died in the hands of the corpse sect. After knowing that their ancestor might have been killed by the corpse sect, the 3 second-rate families didn't dare to make a fart and immediately gave up. Second, the Alchemy Union decided to postpone the alchemy competition for a week. The specific reason was inconvenient to disclose. Some people speculated that the Alchemy Union might have discovered something unusual and wanted to rectify it internally. Third, the sixth prince, Ouyang Yuan, had obtained the support of the drunken Cloud Manor and officially rose to become a strong contender for the crown prince's position. At this point, the situation of the three tigers in the imperial family had completely formed. The first prince, the third prince, and the sixth prince were competing for the position of crown prince. They fought openly and secretly. The emperor also announced in a high-profile manner that the crown prince would represent the great Xia kingdom in the imperial battle. Some forces chose to support the princes. Fourth, the Sacred Institute of Danwu College officially announced that Ningyu had become the second core disciple and would enjoy all the rights and resources of a core disciple. Moreover, 1 month later, the Sacred Institute would hold an assessment to select the participants for the 100 Academy tournament. Fifth, Wen Yi announced that his marriage with Lu Wei had been brought forward by 1 day. He also spent a lot of manpower and material resources to publicize it, hoping that all the famous people in the capital would attend. There was a rumor that Wen Hong would announce something that would change the structure of the capital during his son's wedding. He would abolish the position of the current pavilion master of the Snow Domain Pavilion and appoint his son, Wen Yi. Any one of these 5 events would cause a sensation. Now that these 5 events happened at the same time, the people in the capital were somewhat numb. It was not hard to imagine what the capital would be like after these 5 events. Compared to the previous 4 matters, the 5th matter was more important to everyone. After all, the 5th event was the closest to them and also the one that would soon appear in front of them. Bang! At this time, in a secret room of the Snow Domain Pavilion, Wen Yi casually smashed the jade cup in his book. With a cold expression, he said to the man in black in front of him, "Is there still no news of Ningyu?" "Not yet, but we are doing our best." The man in black did not dare to raise his head and said in a low voice, "Bang." However, before the man in black could finish his sentence, Wen Yi rose from the ground and kicked him far away. "What's the point of me raising you? You're all trash." Wen Yi said coldly, "I'll give you 2 more days. If you don't bring back Ningyu's head by the time of my wedding with Lu Wei, don't come back." "Yes, young master, I will do my best." The man in black crawled up from the ground and looked at Wen Yi. "Why are you looking at me? You can find Ningyu just by looking at me. Hurry up and find him," Wen Yi said angrily. Clang. Hearing this, the man in black quickly left the room. "Trash, you're all trash." Wen Yi sat down on the chair and trembled with anger. "Big brother, we can't rush this matter." Wen Pai, who was beside Wen Yi, was calm and said, "Ningyu is sinister and cunning. He must be hiding in some corner now. What we need to do is to wait." "Wait." Wen Yi raised his eyebrows and said doubtfully, "Will Ningyu walk into the trap?" "He, Ningyu will definitely walk into the trap." Wen Pai smiled and said, "I've already investigated. Ningyu and Lu Wei have an unusual relationship. For Lu Wei, he is willing to take the risk of being caught by us. How can there be such a stupid person in the world? For a woman, he would even give up his life." Wen Yi frowned. Chapter 316. In the dense forest, under a towering tree. Huff. The Dark Emperor opened his eyes and slowly let out a breath of turbid air. "Not bad. I've finally recovered to my peak state." After occupying the energy-gathering formation for 3 days, the Dark Emperor finally recovered his mental state to its peak. "I wonder if that brat Ningyu." The Dark Emperor turned to look at Ningyu. Boom. The Dark Emperor was shocked by what he saw. In midair, a powerful sword wave exploded and the aftermath of the explosion spread in all directions. Swoosh. The sudden change caused the Dark Emperor's expression to change slightly. He hurriedly flapped his purplish gold wings and fanned away the aftermath around him. "Ningyu, what move is this? Why is it so powerful?" After the aftermath dissipated, the Dark Emperor leaped in front of Ningyu and asked. Putting away the soul-severing sword, Ningyu said, "Supreme 9 Purities Sword Art, this is only the 6th form." The Dark Emperor was stunned, How many forms are there in total? Supreme 9 Purities Sword Art has a total of 12 forms and each form is stronger than the last. Ningyu said, if I successfully cultivate the 12th form of Supreme 9 Purities Sword Art, killing you will be a piece of cake. Forget it. With your current cultivation, I reckon that it would be pretty good if you can cultivate to the 6th form. To think that you actually want to cultivate the 12th form. The Dark Emperor curled his lips. Suddenly, the Dark Emperor seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, right, how is the red skin now? Hearing that, Ningyu took out the semicircular pendant and separated a portion of his soul force into it. Without stopping at the first 2 levels, Ningyu's soul force entered the 3rd level. A moment later, Ningyu withdrew his soul force from the pendant. How is it? The Dark Emperor asked anxiously. I'm not sure about the specifics, but the Red Fiend has already entered the 7-star formation. Shaking his head, Ningyu said, whether or not it can fuse with the main body will depend on Hongmo's luck. After consuming more than 10 million top-grade origin crystals, if the Red Devil is still unable to fuse with his main body, I will definitely break his leg. The Emperor of the Dark World was more pained by the top-grade origin crystals. Let's go. 3 days have passed. It's time to go to the capital. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a low voice, Lu Wei is trapped in the Snow Domain Pavilion, we have to go save her. Why didn't you say so earlier? Someone actually dares to trap your little girlfriend. I'll tear him apart. The purplish golden wings on the Dark Emperor's back flapped as he prepared to return to the capital. Dark Emperor, you should enter the spatial ring. There are many people in the capital who have seen you. I'm afraid it will attract trouble. Before the Dark Emperor could fly away, Ningyu said anxiously, don't worry, after advancing to the early primal core stage, I can change my form at will. With a slight smile, the Dark Emperor's body shrunk down to the size of a small puppy. Woof woof. After transforming into a small puppy, the Dark Emperor barked at Ningyu. Holy *T, Dark Emperor, your appearance is too befitting of your identity. In my opinion, you should look like this from now on. Ningyu's eyes widened as an expression of disbelief appeared on his face. The first time I went to the capital, I came back covered in blood. This time, I will make sure to turn the world upside down. A small pair of flowery wings appeared behind the Dark Emperor's back, and as they flapped rapidly, they dashed toward the capital. As for Ningyu, he put away the 10 origin gathering stones and rose into the air, following closely behind the Dark Emperor, and disappeared in an instant. Since Wen Yi and Lu Wei were going to be married tomorrow, there were a few extra guards at the gates of the capital today. These extra guards were naturally from the Snow Domain Pavilion. In the past, the defense of the capital had always been handled by the eldest prince. Now that there were a few more people from the Snow Domain Pavilion at the gates, everyone guessed that the eldest prince might have joined forces with the Snow Domain Pavilion. Actually, if the 6th Prince Ouyang Yuan could join forces with the Drunken Cloud Heights, the eldest prince could also join forces with the Snow Domain Pavilion. There were even rumors that the eldest prince had not only joined forces with the Snow Domain Pavilion, but also had dealings with the Assassin Pavilion. In the process of fighting for the throne, many princes would resort to any means necessary. At this moment, not far from the gates, a man and a dog were slowly walking toward the gates. The dog was, of course, the Dark Emperor. And the man was, of course, Ningyu. Why are there so many more guards at the gates? Ningyu's memory was very good. The last time the He clan was destroyed, there were not so many guards. Now that there were 3 or 4 more guards, it was no wonder that Ningyu was a little confused. I can take care of these guards with one hand, the Dark Emperor said casually. Caution is the parent of safety. I always feel that something is fishy. Since his soul force had advanced to the early 5th grade, Ningyu's perception had become a lot stronger. Just a moment ago, he faintly discovered that there were a few peak experts hiding around the gates. Before he knew whether those experts were friend or foe, Ningyu decided to be careful and not act rashly. Fortunately, on the way, Ningyu had quietly used the appearance-changing technique to change his appearance, otherwise it would have been very difficult to sneak into the capital. Ningyu guessed that among the guards, there was an 80% chance that there were people from the Snow Domain Pavilion. I'm here, Don't be afraid. Shrugging, the Dark Emperor did not express his opinion. He lifted his short legs and walked toward the gates. Although the Dark Emperor had a disapproving expression, he converged his aura and looked like a pet dog. You, don't look, I'm talking about you. Stop and let us check. Just as Ningyu reached the gates, he was stopped by an early-stage true martial realm guard. Who are you? What are you doing in the capital? I'm an alchemist. I want to buy some herbs in the capital. Ningyu took out his second-grade alchemist token and said. Taking the token from Ningyu's hand, the early-stage true martial realm guard looked at it for a bit and then returned it to Ningyu. Is this little flower dog your pet dog? The early-stage true martial realm guard looked at the Dark Emperor on Ningyu's ankle and asked. This is a rank 1 demon beast, Ling Hua dog, it's my pet. Ningyu said. What the hell, you actually said I'm a Ling Hua dog, wait until we enter the capital, see how I'll take care of you. The Dark Emperor was trembling in anger and thought. Ling Hua dog. Slightly frowning, the early-stage true martial realm guard doubtfully asked, why is it trembling, is it injured? Ningyu was a little speechless, he thought to himself, why do you care so much, but he didn't show it on the surface, and said, this Ling Hua dog is in heat, I have to quickly enter the capital and find it a breeding dog. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, including the true martial realm early-stage guards, and even the passers-by in the surroundings burst into laughter. If I'm not wrong, this Ling Hua dog should be a female, right? Quickly enter the capital, find it a strong male dog, and let it have a good time. Another Xiantian great perfection martial artist laughed. I'll enter the capital now and find a male dog for our Hua to mate with. Ningyu hurriedly said. With that, Ningyu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said, stop trembling, I'll find a male dog for you right now. Wait. Chapter 317. Looking at the young man walking towards him, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat and he quickly concealed his aura. Liu Qing. The young man was none other than Liu Qing, the one who had a conflict with Ningyu on the streets of the capital. Liu Qing was at the peak of the true martial realm. Although Ningyu was not afraid of Liu Qing, he did not want to expose his identity here. After all, Liu Qing was backed by Snow Domain Pavilion. Before figuring out the situation of Snow Domain Pavilion, Ningyu did not want to have any conflict with Liu Qing. Young Master Liu. The guard at the early stage of the true martial realm looked at Liu Qing and said respectfully, we will stand guard here. We will not let Ningyu enter the capital. I was just passing by and found this martial artist suspicious, so I stopped to investigate. Waving his hand, Liu Qing walked straight to Ningyu and asked, what is your name? Lu Yi, Ningyu said without batting an eyelid, and he seemed very calm. Ningyu's reaction made Liu Qing raise his eyebrows in surprise. Judging from his aura, Ningyu should be a Xiantian full-cycle martial artist, but Liu Qing had a feeling that Ningyu was not simple. Logically, a Xiantian full-cycle martial artist would not be so calm after seeing him. Thinking of this, Liu Qing slightly released his aura and pressed it towards Ningyu. What are you doing? Feeling the powerful aura from Liu Qing, Ningyu's face darkened and he growled, I did not steal or rob. You are going too far. Going too far. Liu Qing's lips curled up and he adjusted his aura and pressed it towards the Dark Emperor. Whoosh. Seeing this, Ningyu's figure flickered and he stood in front of the Dark Emperor. Ningyu was not worried that the Dark Emperor's life would be threatened, but he was worried that the Dark Emperor would suddenly explode and kill Liu Qing. Now was not the time to expose his identity. Poochie. Ningyu pretended to spit out a mouthful of dark red blood in order to match his cultivation of the consummate Xiantian realm. His complexion turned a little pale. Wow, you're risking your life for a dog. Liu Qing revealed a playful smile. Not only did he not stop, he even increased the pressure of his aura. Could it be that he has discovered my identity? Liu Qing's crazy actions inevitably caused Ningyu to feel a little puzzled. He was confident that he had concealed his aura perfectly. With Liu Qing's cultivation at the peak of the true martial realm, he would definitely not be able to find any clues. However, Liu Qing's current actions were clearly somewhat unusual. It must be a peak expert hiding in the surroundings. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu could not help but clench his fists tightly. His expression was completely gloomy. If the enemy does not offend me, I will not offend them. But if the enemy offends me, I will return the favor several times over. At this moment, Ningyu decided to teach Liu Qing a lesson. Others were already bullying him. If he continued to endure, he would only be bullied even more. If you continue to act like this, don't blame me for being impolite. Ningyu shouted in a low voice. I'd like to see how you'll be impolite today. Liu Qing was indifferent. Instead, he stomped his feet on the ground and charged at Ningyu. Moreover, Liu Qing's fist brought bursts of yuan qi wind as it blasted towards Ningyu's face. Although Liu Qing did not use his full strength in this punch, he still used 80% of his strength. If Ningyu was just an ordinary Xiantian martial artist at the peak of the Xiantian realm, he would only end up being crippled after being slapped in the face. Crack! Facing the fist that was gradually approaching him, Ningyu raised his right hand and unavoidably collided with Liu Qing's fist. A clear and melodious voice resounded in this area. Ah! Subsequently, a miserable shriek like that of a pig being slaughtered rang out from Liu Qing's mouth. The sudden change caused the surrounding guards to be dumbfounded. They never imagined that the aggressive Liu Qing would actually be defeated by Ningyu in a single move. This was too nonsensical. Who is that youth? Why is he so strong? I don't know. Maybe he's a peerless genius from Danwu College. It's possible. I know the person who was defeated. His name is Liu Qing. He's very close to Wen Yi and the others. He's at the peak of the true martial realm. To be able to defeat a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm in a single move, doesn't that mean that youth's strength has reached the primal core realm? More and more martial artists gathered at the city gate. In the end, they even blocked the city gate. The people outside could not enter, and the people inside could not leave. Brat, I'll tear you into pieces. Lowering his head to look at his bloody fist, Liu Qing's chest heaved up and down. He was on the verge of exploding with rage. Failed miserably in a simple task. This time, he really failed miserably in a simple task. Ever since he arrived at the capital, Liu Qing had not had a smooth sailing. First, he was schemed against by Ningyu on the streets, and then he was beaten to a pulp by the youth in front of him. Liu Qing definitely had to get back at him. Since you've injured my hand, you'll have to leave your head behind as compensation. With an extremely cold expression, Liu Qing dashed out once more. Like a cheetah, he arrived before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. With his right fist crippled, Liu Qing used his left fist to attack Ningyu. Stubborn fool. Since he had decided to make a move, Ningyu did not intend to hold back. Just as Liu Qing's fist was about to come into contact with him, he raised his right leg and ruthlessly kicked Liu Qing's fist. Peng! In the next moment, Liu Qing's body was like a kite with its string cut, falling straight to the ground. In the end, he crashed heavily onto the city wall. Poochie! Blood spurted out. Liu Qing's left hand was also crippled. Crippling a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm in 2 moves. Just who in the world is he? Why does he possess such powerful strength? Even though I don't know who he is, I can be sure that he isn't at the Xiantian realm, but at the true martial realm primary stage. He's already so powerful at the true martial realm primary stage. If he advances to the peak of the true martial realm, how powerful would he be? The whispers in his ears made Liu Qing's lungs explode. He could not help but clench his fists. However, both of his hands were already crippled. Clenching his fists. It would only increase the pain. Liu Qing is injured like this. The snow pavilion will not sit idly by. Yes, if he offends the snow pavilion, that young man will most likely die. Wen Yi is a cruel and merciless person. In my opinion, that young man will not live long. Hey, you'd better leave quickly, or it will be too late. A martial artist at the true martial realm middle stage reminded, Liu Qing has the snow pavilion behind him. Offending him is equivalent to offending the snow pavilion. When Wen Yi arrives, the consequences will be unimaginable. What consequences? Unimaginable, right? However, before the true martial realm middle stage martial artist could finish his words, a gloomy voice sounded. Hearing this, the true martial realm middle stage martial artist's complexion changed dramatically and became completely cold. Swish, swish. Two martial practitioners flew over from the city gates and landed in front of the true martial realm middle stage martial practitioner in an instant. Daring to oppose the snow pavilion, I think you must be tired of living. The two true martial realm martial artists were none other than Wen Yi and Wen Pai. Chapter 318. Kaka. Although Wen Yi was in the late stage of the true martial realm, relatively speaking, Wen Yi's strength was much stronger. The martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm was oppressed by Wen Yi's aura to the point that he could not breathe. His legs made cracking sounds and he was about to kneel down. Swoosh. How could Ningyu let Wen Yi do as he pleased? His figure flashed and in the blink of an eye, he blocked the martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm. Moreover, Ningyu revealed his aura and clashed head-on with Wen Yi's aura. Kai. As soon as the aura of both sides clashed, Wen Yi's complexion changed dramatically and he quickly retreated. Because he could feel that the aura emitted by Ningyu was not the slightest bit weaker than his. Who are you? After stabilizing his body, Wen Yi coldly said, You dare to behave atrociously in the capital. Humph. Who I am is not important, what's important is that you are too arrogant. Ningyu coldly snorted, not giving any face to Wen Yi. I am too arrogant. Wen Yi pointed at his own nose, then pointed at Liu Qing who was lying not far away and said gloomily, You injured Liu Qing, there is no one in the world who. Stop. Before Wen Yi finished speaking, Ningyu waved his hand and said impatiently, I know what you want to say next. It must be that there is no one in the world who can save me, right? How do you know? Wen Yi was a little surprised. After all, before he said it, Ningyu already knew what he wanted to say. Don't use an old joke, shrugging, Ningyu said, I think you know why I injured Liu Qing. Right, this martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm, I will protect him today. If anyone dares to touch a single hair of his, they will be my enemy. Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and turned to point at the martial artist behind him. You protect him? Can you protect him? With a sneer, Wen Yi rose from the ground and charged directly at Ningyu. On the other side, Wen Pai also instantly attacked. Almost in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the middle stage true martial realm martial artist, then ruthlessly punched with his right fist. Bang! Wen Yi and Wen Pai attacking at the same time had indeed caused Ningyu to have a hard time dealing with him, but that was all. The essence in his sea of consciousness gathered on his fist, and Ningyu sent out a backhand punch. The speed of this fist was extremely fast, so fast that before Wen Yi could react, it had already landed on his chest. The huge force that came from his chest caused Wen Yi's expression to change drastically. He retreated several feet before stabilizing himself. With one successful strike, Ningyu immediately turned his head and lifted his right leg to sweep at Wen Pai. Kacha. The fist and Ningyu's right leg collided, and a crisp sound rang out almost instantly. Ah! Immediately, Wen Pai let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Wen Pai's strength was not much different from Liu Qing's. If Ningyu could injure Liu Qing in one move, then naturally, he could cripple Wen Pai in one move. Not simple, indeed not simple. Wounding Wen Yi and Wen Pai means that this youngster has completely offended Snow Domain Pavilion. This youngster is so strong, he must be the young master of some great force. Since Snow Domain Pavilion's old pavilion master was trapped, Snow Domain Pavilion's influence has been declining day by day. That's right, if this continues, Snow Domain Pavilion will sooner or later fall into the hands of Wen Yi and Wen Pai. Ningyu's victory once again caused a visual impact on the surrounding martial artists. Now, they wanted to know the true identity of Ningyu even more. In the end, who dared to be so rampant in front of the capital's gate? As I said, this middle stage true martial realm martial artist will be protected by me today. Standing in front of the middle stage true martial realm martial artist, Ningyu said in a deep voice, if anyone dares to make a move on him, then they will be going against me. Really? What if I want to make a move on him? As soon as Ningyu's voice fell, a faint voice slowly sounded. Then, a man in a golden robe, walked down from the gate tower. First prince. It's the first prince. Why is he here? With such a big thing happening, the first prince will definitely come. He is responsible for the defense of the capital. Once something happens, he will be at a disadvantage in the competition for the crown prince position. In that case, the first prince should show up. Of course, I also heard that the first prince has been very close to Snow Domain Pavilion recently. I guess he wants to join forces with Snow Domain Pavilion to compete for the crown prince position. The words around did not affect the first prince. He walked in front of Ningyu, looked Ningyu up and down, and said, "This is the capital. You causing trouble here is contempt for the imperial power. I have the right to handcuff you and throw you into prison." The first prince's tone was cold at first, then he changed the topic and said, "If you can pledge allegiance to me, I can consider letting you live." Now was the crucial time to compete for the crown prince position. For a strong warrior like Ningyu, the first prince wanted to subdue him first. Ningyu frowned. When the first prince was looking at him, he was also looking at the first prince. The first prince's appearance was secondary. What surprised Ningyu was the first prince's cultivation. The peak of the true martial realm. Moreover, the peak of the true martial realm was quite strong, far beyond the likes of Liu Qing. In other words, the first prince could fight 3 warriors like Liu Qing, or even more. I have never thought of pledging allegiance to anyone. Ningyu directly rejected the first prince. What a joke, to ask him to pledge allegiance to the first prince. Absolutely impossible. Good, very good. The first prince was not angry, but said lightly, "Among the people I know, there are only 2 kinds of people, enemies and friends. If you do not pledge allegiance to me, you will be my enemy." As he spoke, the first prince's expression gradually turned cold. To friends, I will give them the best resources and the greatest power, but to enemies. At this point, the first prince paused for a moment, then said, "I will let him know what cruelty is." "Someone you know?" "Unfortunately, I am not on the list of people you know, because you don't even know my name," Ningyu said with a shrug. "Haha, if I say I know someone, then I know someone." With a slight smile, the first prince flicked his sleeves and said in a low voice, "Do it, let him know that royal authority is not to be blasphemed." Whoosh. As soon as the first prince finished speaking, 2 cultivators appeared and surrounded Ningyu. Early primal core stage. Looking at the 2 warriors in front of him, Ningyu's face was expressionless. "These 2 warriors alone are no match for me." Shameless boasting. Hearing Ningyu's words, one of the early primal core warriors with a knife scar on his face said coldly, "Today, I will let you know how cruel the Zhao brothers can be." What? It's the Zhao brothers. The Zhao brothers have always been cruel and ruthless. Why would they pledge allegiance to the first prince? The first prince is indeed resourceful. Even the Zhao brothers have pledged allegiance to him. It looks like he is determined to win the fight to be the crown prince. Chapter 319. Ningyu, I'm going to sleep for a while. Wake me up when you're done with this mess. The Dark Emperor lay on the ground, not even lifting his eyelids. The Dark Emperor clearly did not take the Zhao brothers seriously. Restrain yourself. Don't let the cat out of the bag. Ningyu had this slightly worried expression as he transmitted a message to the Dark Emperor. As a prince of the Great Xia Kingdom, it is impossible for him to not have any pinnacle experts backing him. Whoosh. At that moment, Zhao Da of the Zhao brothers had already arrived in front of Ningyu and threw a heavy punch at Ningyu's face. Whoosh. At the same time, Zhao appeared behind Ningyu and threw a heavy punch at Ningyu's head. Faced with the powerful attacks of 2 early primal core stage martial artists, Ningyu's face was expressionless as he retreated several feet. Do you think you can escape from the hands of us brothers? Seeing that Ningyu had dodged his fatal blow, Zhao Da snorted and immediately rose from the ground, chasing after Ningyu as he retreated. Zhao did not stop either and joined the battle. In mid-air, Ningyu and the Zhao brothers were locked in battle. At that moment, both sides were evenly matched. No one could do anything to the other. Whoosh. Ningyu and the Zhao brothers were evenly matched. No one, including the first prince, had expected this. One had to know that the Zhao brothers could fight against a mid-primal core stage martial artist if they worked together. Ning Yu was only in the early true martial realm. How could he be so strong? In my opinion, the Zhao brothers must be holding back. They don't want to kill the young man here. More or less. The first prince is kind and wants to convince people with reason. If the first prince gave the order, the Zhao brothers would have attacked with all their might. Even so, I'm sure that the young man will be defeated in half an hour. Half an hour? I bet that the young man can only last 10 minutes. I bet 5 minutes. The surrounding martial artists all agreed that the Zhao brothers had not used their full strength. As far as they were concerned, once the Zhao brothers attacked with their full strength, that youth would have no way of surviving. Boom. In midair, Ning Yu and the Zhao brothers were having a great time fighting. Both sides exchanged blows back and forth, but no one was able to gain the upper hand. However, as time went on, the Zhao brothers became more and more alarmed. They discovered that Ning Yu had always been at ease, alternating between tension and relaxation, appearing very calm. Big brother, there's something strange about this kid. His true strength should be at the late primal core stage, Zhao said in a low voice after forcing Ning Yu back with one strike. The two of us working together can match and even kill a middle primal core stage martial arts practitioner. But against a late primal core stage martial arts practitioner, we will definitely lose. Zhao Da's expression was gloomy. He wanted to retreat, but there was nothing he could do. In this situation, they represented the royal family and the first prince. Once they retreated, the authority of the royal family would be tarnished. Even if Ning Yu did not kill them, the first prince would not let them off. Hence, he could only bite the bullet and fight with Ning Yu. First prince, I've said it before. These two martial arts practitioners alone are no match for me. Floating in midair, Ning Yu cupped his fists and said to the first prince, I have no intention of becoming your enemy. How about we end things here today? Royal authority is not to be tarnished. Zhao brothers, take him down, the first prince said coldly. Swoosh, swoosh. Hearing the first prince's words, the Zhao brothers gritted their teeth and once again charged towards Ning Yu. Since you're looking for death, don't blame me. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu wrapped the Yuan Qi in his sea of knowledge around his wrist and his body shot out. Dark dominating palm. As he reached the Zhao brothers, Ning Yu leaned to the side and struck out with both palms, hitting the Zhao brothers squarely on their chests. Smack, smack. Although Ning Yu did not use his soul power in these two strikes, the powerful Yuan Qi in his palms was still too much for the Zhao brothers to handle. Their bodies were like kites with their strings cut as they fell heavily to the ground. Boom. The defeat of the Zhao brothers caused a deathly silence to fall over the crowd. The crowd stared in shock at the Zhao brothers lying on the ground. Their mouths were agape and their faces were full of disbelief. The Zhao brothers, who were strong enough to kill a mid-primal core martial artist, had been defeated by Ning Yu just like that. To the surrounding martial arts practitioners, the scene before them was like a dream. The Zhao brothers have been defeated. I have to say, this young man has the ability to defeat a mid-primal core martial artist. That should be the case. After all, if the Zhao brothers join forces, they can fight against a mid-primal core martial artist, maybe even kill him. Since their debut, the Zhao brothers have never been defeated. Who would have thought that they would be the first to be defeated by this young man? Never been defeated? You are outdated. The Zhao brothers have been defeated once, and it is said that they were defeated by the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince is indeed the Crown Prince. Even though the Zhao brothers have been defeated, he is still as calm as ever. The crowd turned their gazes to the Crown Prince. At this moment, there was no trace of anger on the Crown Prince's face. It was as if the battle before him had nothing to do with him. This is so infuriating. This is so infuriating. The calmness on the surface could not conceal the slight trembling in the Crown Prince's chest. In the instant that the Zhao brothers had been defeated, the Crown Prince had already sentenced Ning Yu to death in his heart. At the very least, within the territory that he controlled, no one could save Ning Yu. You are indeed a young hero. Why don't I spar with you? With a smile, the Crown Prince took a step forward and came before Ningyu. As long as you can defeat me, you can leave freely. But if you lose, then there is only one result. At this point, the Crown Prince paused for a moment, then said coldly, "Die." Buzz. In the instant that the word die was uttered, the surrounding air seemed to freeze and the temperature dropped to freezing point. Furthermore, an extremely terrifying aura rippled out from the Crown Prince and spread out in all directions. Not good, everyone retreat quickly. Let's go quickly, the Crown Prince is angry. When the Crown Prince is angry, blood will flow like a river. If we don't leave now, it will be too late. The powerful aura that emanated from the Crown Prince's body scared the cultivators in the surroundings. It had been a long time since the Crown Prince had been so angry. The last time he had been so angry was during the battle against the barbarian tribe. At that time, the Crown Prince had been enraged and had taken the head of the barbarian tribe's general in the midst of tens of thousands of soldiers. Even tens of thousands of soldiers had not been able to stop the Crown Prince. After that battle, the number of people who sided with him gradually increased and his position in the royal family became even more secure. In the face of the Crown Prince's powerful aura, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat and his expression changed uncontrollably. So his cultivation level is half a step into the Yuandan stage. No wonder he can explode with such a powerful aura. Frowning, Ningyu did not retreat. Chapter 320. What? This young man's aura is comparable to the Crown Prince's. Who is he? I'm not sure. He should be a few years younger than the Crown Prince, but his abilities are so terrifying. I wonder who will win, him or the Crown Prince. Sensing the powerful aura emanating from the young man, the surrounding warriors were all dumbfounded. They had initially thought that they had overestimated this young man. Who would have thought that this young man would surprise them wave after wave? First, he defeated Liu Qing, then he defeated the two brothers, Wen Yi and Wen Pai. Even the Zhao brothers were no match for him. Finally, the most shocking thing was that the young man before them had an aura comparable to the Crown Prince's. Ningyu. You are Ningyu. When Ningyu had unreservedly displayed his aura, Wen Yi had discovered Ningyu's true identity. Wen Yi could not be more familiar with the aura emanating from Ningyu's body. I can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. After discovering Ningyu's true identity, Wen Yi hurriedly shouted, "Uncle Ji, if you don't come out now, when will you?" Whoosh. As soon as Wen Yi's voice fell, the space around him surged. Then, a cultivator in black appeared. After the warrior in black appeared, he first looked at Ningyu, then said to Wen Yi, "It's not convenient for me to make a move now. It won't be too late for me to make a move after Ningyu and the Crown Prince have finished sparring." Uncle Ji, is Ningyu really that powerful? Even the Crown Prince is no match for him? Wen Yi asked. Shaking his head, the elder called Uncle Ji said, "Ningyu and the Crown Prince's abilities should be about the same." Hiss. Hearing Uncle Ji's words, Wen Yi could not help but gasp. He knew the Crown Prince's abilities. He was extremely powerful and could even fight a late primal core stage warrior. How did Ningyu's strength grow so quickly? It was important to note that back in the Sacred College of Danwu College, Ningyu had not been a match for Wei Ziyi, and Wei Ziyi had only been a mid-primal core practitioner. In just 3 short days, Ningyu was already comparable to the first prince. Who is Ningyu? Why haven't I heard of it before? A martial artist asked doubtfully when he heard Wen Yi's words. You haven't even heard of Ningyu. I wonder what you do every day. A Xiantian consummate stage warrior said coldly, "Listen up, Ningyu is a disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Institute, and enjoys all the rights and resources of a core disciple." Core disciple? The martial artist who had just spoken exclaimed, "Doesn't that mean that Ningyu's status in the Sacred Institute is comparable to Zhong Tianwen's?" Zhong Tianwen? Haha, to tell you the truth, during the Sacred Institute's recruitment, he was already defeated by Ningyu. The Xiantian consummate stage warrior pursed his lips, clearly not on good terms with Zhong Tianwen. What? Even Zhong Tianwen was defeated by Ningyu. The shock on the face of the cultivator who had just spoken became even more intense. Rumble. At this moment, Ningyu and the Crown Prince both flew into the air and engaged in an intense battle. Their attacks were not flashy at all, and even the aftershocks were controlled perfectly so that they did not spread in all directions. This old man is not simple. His cultivation is at least at the peak of the primal core stage. The Dark Emperor did not pay any attention to the battle between Ningyu and the Crown Prince. At this moment, his attention was drawn to the old man beside Wen Yi. From this old man, the Dark Emperor felt an extremely strong wave of yuan qi. This wave of yuan qi indicated that the old man's cultivation was at least at the peak of the primal core stage. This was a little awkward. Although the Dark Emperor had advanced to the early primal core stage and could kill a late primal core stage warrior, he had no chance of winning against a peak primal core stage warrior. I have to tell Ningyu to be careful and escape immediately if anything happens. Other than the old man beside Wen Yi, the Dark Emperor also discovered that there were a few other experts who were not weaker than him hiding in the surroundings. None of those experts were lower than the late primal core stage. The Dark Emperor could defeat and even easily kill a late primal core stage warrior. If the Dark Emperor met a peak primal core stage warrior, he could only run away. However, just as the Dark Emperor was about to send a voice transmission to Ningyu, the words that were about to come out of his mouth were forcefully stopped. This was because he discovered that there was a martial artist with a 7th grade soul power rushing over from the capital. Under the perception of a 7th grade soul power martial artist, a voice transmission might be discovered. The Dark Emperor could only give up and adapt carefully. Bang! At the same time, Ningyu and the first prince separated from each other in midair. Ningyu, I'll give you one more chance to submit to me, the first prince said in a low voice. He still wanted to subdue Ningyu. After fighting with Ningyu, the first prince realized that Ningyu was not weak, and could even be compared to him. If he could subdue such a peak expert, it would be very helpful for him to fight for the position of Crown Prince. Furthermore, Ningyu was also a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Courtyard. If Ningyu submitted to him, the Sacred Courtyard might not stand idly by while he fought for the position of Crown Prince. I discovered a very important problem. Ningyu stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "What problem?" The first prince raised his eyebrows and asked, "You keep asking me to submit to you, but I don't see your sincerity." Ningyu said calmly, "Ha ha ha." The first prince raised his head and laughed. Then he said coldly, "Sincerity? I am the first prince of the great Xia kingdom. The position of Crown Prince must be mine. As long as you submit to me, when I ascend to the throne in the future, power and resources will be yours." The first prince didn't say the last sentence in front of so many people. Instead, he sent a soul message to Ningyu. After all, he didn't dare to say such rebellious words. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Shrugging, Ningyu didn't deny it. The first prince withdrew his aura and said in a low voice, "As long as you submit to me, I can find a way to let you cultivate in the ice manor. The Dan Martial Pool is no worse than the ice manor." Ningyu also withdrew his aura. "What do you want?" The first prince suppressed his anger. "Nothing." Ningyu said, "Don't you understand what I mean? If you want me to submit to you, it's impossible if you don't take out something practical." "Something practical? I'll take out something practical for you to see." With a cold expression, the first prince dashed out again, charging toward Ningyu. As he moved forward, a silver flying sword suddenly appeared in the first prince's hand. Little Dragon Sword. It's the Little Dragon Sword. What's the Little Dragon Sword? In the imperial family, there are 2 flying swords of extremely high quality. One is the Little Dragon Sword, the other is the Great Dragon Sword. That's right. The Great Dragon Sword is the Emperor's sword. Its grade is unknown, but the Little Dragon Sword is a heaven-grade upper-grade flying sword. It's extremely powerful. High grade. The surrounding martial artists all sucked in a breath of cold air. Some second-rate clans only had middle-grade heaven-step flying swords as their clan protection treasures. Chapter 321. A superior-grade heaven-level flying sword. Feeling the powerful aura from the silver-white flying sword in the first prince's hand, Ningyu's expression turned slightly serious. Although a superior-grade heaven-level flying sword could not display its full power in the hands of a true martial realm martial artist, the first prince was very different from an ordinary true martial realm martial artist. He was half a step into the primal core realm, and his strength was at least comparable to a late primal core realm martial artist. In other words, a superior-grade heaven-level flying sword could display 80% of its power in the hands of the first prince. At this moment, the first prince had an attitude of having the little dragon sword in his hand. Absolute sword wave. Facing the first prince who was almost in front of him, Ningyu did not dare to be slow. With a flick of his wrist, the absolute soul sword appeared. The golden elixir's yuan qi frantically flowed into the absolute soul sword, and Ningyu slashed out with a sword wave. After this sword wave appeared, it did not stop at all and immediately rushed towards the first prince. Wrath of the Little Dragon. The first prince's little dragon sword slashed down in the air, and immediately a sword light no weaker than the absolute sword wave appeared in the air. The sword light took the shape of a dragon and even let out a faint dragon roar. The dragon roar was extremely weak, so weak that martial artists with low cultivation could not hear it at all. Kai Kai. The sword light and sword wave collided, and both sides dissipated into nothingness. Me. I'll let you see the true power of the little dragon sword. After dispersing the absolute sword wave that Ningyu had slashed out, the first prince coldly snorted. Immediately, the yuan qi in his body flowed through his wrist into the little dragon sword. Buzz buzz. With the injection of yuan qi, the little dragon sword let out a trembling sound. This time, the trembling sound was very obvious, so obvious that all the surrounding martial artists could hear it clearly. The little dragon sword is making a sound. It seems that the first prince is going to use his ultimate move. Yes, it is said that the little dragon sword has the aura of an ancient dragon. I wonder if it is true. We will know after seeing it. If it really has the aura of an ancient dragon, Ningyu will definitely not have a good time. He might even die under the little dragon sword. It's impossible for him to die, but I'm afraid he'll be heavily injured. Ningyu is a core disciple of the Sacred Institute. The first prince wouldn't dare to openly challenge the Sacred Institute. Just as everyone was discussing amongst themselves, the first prince did something that shocked everyone. He flicked his wrist and threw the little dragon sword out. Whoosh! The little dragon sword's speed was so fast that before Ningyu could react, it was already in front of him. At the critical moment, Ningyu quickly burned his essence qi and retreated backward. Seeing Ningyu retreating, the corners of the first prince's mouth curled up, and he said in a gloomy tone, competing with the little dragon sword in terms of speed, "Why don't you take a look at yourself first?" The first prince was very confident in the speed of the little dragon sword. Because the little dragon sword had the aura of an ancient dragon in it, the speed of the little dragon sword was even faster than some intermediate primal core stage warriors. In fact, the speed of the little dragon sword was comparable to that of a late primal core stage martial artist. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Ningyu stopped where he was. After the phantom armor had been damaged, his speed was indeed no match for the little dragon sword. Since he could not beat it, there was no point in running away. He might as well face the little dragon sword head-on. Go! Seeing that Ningyu had stopped, the first prince shouted in a low voice. Just as Huang Xiaolong shouted, a terrifying aura burst out from the little dragon sword, dashing towards Ningyu. The aura of an ancient dragon. This aura caused Ningyu's face to darken completely. With Ningyu's current abilities, it was not too difficult for him to withstand this aura. All he had to do was to use the intermediate stage of solitaire. However, Ningyu did not intend to use solitaire just like that. He had to hold back. The aura of an ancient dragon. If I swallow this aura, I can even advance to the intermediate primal core stage. Ningyu felt that this was a little tricky, but the Dark Emperor looked excited. In ancient times, the sky-devouring Hound clan was comparable to the Dragon clan. The two clans were evenly matched. Although it was only the aura of an ancient dragon, the Dark Emperor was very sure that if he could swallow it, he would have a chance of advancing to the intermediate primal core stage. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor was not an indecisive dog. After some thought, His body flashed and he flew towards the little dragon sword. What is that little dog going to do? Is it crazy? It will only die if it goes there. That little dog is Ningyu's pet dog. It is probably going to protect its master. Protect its master? Hee, a rank 1 flower dewdrop dog wants to protect its master? I wonder if Ningyu can withstand this powerful aura. The Dark Emperor's actions did not attract much attention. Everyone turned to look at Ningyu. Look at that dog's speed. Someone shouted, and everyone's eyes turned to the Dark Emperor again. It was as if the Dark Emperor was sitting on a rocket. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Ningyu. In front of everyone, he swallowed the ancient dragon's aura into his stomach. Silence. Silence. The Dark Emperor's actions caused the entire area to be deathly silent. Gulp. After a short moment of silence, a martial artist in the early stages of the true martial realm swallowed his saliva, his face full of disbelief. What kind of divine being is that dog? It actually swallowed the ancient dragon's aura into its stomach. It is Ningyu's pet, a rank 1 flower dewdrop dog. Have you seen a flower dewdrop dog so strong? Even the flower dewdrop dog king can't be so abnormal. Relatively speaking, the most shocked was the first prince. The ancient dragon's aura in the little dragon sword was something that he had spent a lot of resources to obtain. He even lost a late primal core martial artist because of it. Now that this aura had been swallowed by a little dog, how could he not be angry? Damn it! Damn it! His chest was heaving up and down, and the anger on the first prince's face could be seen clearly. He had never been as angry as he was at this moment. He was furious to the extreme. He wanted to kill Ningyu immediately, but he endured it. After all, Ningyu was a core disciple of the Sacred Institute. Although he could not kill Ningyu, he did not intend to let the flower dewdrop dog go. With a thought, the first prince controlled the little dragon sword to return to his hand. Ningyu, protect me for 10 minutes. I want to refine the ancient dragon's aura. Seeing that the first prince was rushing towards him, the Dark Emperor hurriedly said to Ningyu. Dark Emperor, you only know how to cause trouble for me. Although he said that, Ningyu's hands were not idle. He hurriedly took out the breaking soul sword. The Yuan Qi in a virtual golden elixir poured out and entered the breaking soul sword. Immediately, Ningyu waved the breaking soul sword and slashed out a sword wave. Solitaire. Now, Ningyu could not care so much. The Dark Emperor asked him to protect him for 10 minutes. Even if he had to expose his trump card, he had to last for 10 minutes. Little Dragon's Fury. With a low roar, the first prince slashed out a sword radiance. Hiss. The sword radiance rubbed against the air and let out a hissing sound. Rumble. The next moment, the sword radiance of the Little Dragon's Fury clashed with the 6th form of the 9 Purities sword art, Solitaire. A loud explosion resounded in the area. Not good. Originally, the first prince thought that the sword radiance of the Little Dragon's Fury could instantly destroy Solitaire. However, things did not go as he wished. Instead, the sword radiance of the Little Dragon's Fury was destroyed by Solitaire. Chapter 322. Damn it. The sudden turn of events caused the first prince's face to turn ashen. Relying on the wrath of the miniature dragon, he had once killed a mid-primal core practitioner when he was in the late true martial stage. Now that he was half a step into the primal core stage, he had originally thought that he would be able to defeat Ningyu easily with the wrath of the miniature dragon. Who would have thought that not only would he fail to defeat Ningyu, but he would also be in danger? Furious dragon rises to the sea. At this crucial moment, the first prince bellowed, and the little dragon sword in his hand vibrated at a strange frequency. In the next moment, the shadow of a miniature dragon flew out from the little dragon sword and charged towards the Solitaire. Miniature dragon. The first prince is indeed powerful. He has even successfully mastered the furious dragon rises to the sea. It is said that when the royal family obtained the little dragon sword, they also obtained a set of sword techniques. The first move is the wrath of the miniature dragon, and the second move is the furious dragon rises to the sea. The first prince can use the furious dragon rises to the sea. Even if Ningyu loses, he can still be proud. That's right, Look at the miniature dragon in the air. Even a late primal core practitioner would not be able to withstand it, right? As the crowd discussed, the solitaire in the air had already collided with the miniature dragon. In the instant that the two collided, the miniature dragon opened its mouth wide and swallowed the solitaire into its stomach. The actions of the miniature dragon caused Ningyu to freeze on the spot, somewhat dumbfounded. The solitaire that he was so proud of had actually been swallowed into the stomach of the miniature dragon. Although the power of the solitaire had been greatly reduced when it blocked the wrath of the miniature dragon, the fact that the miniature dragon had been able to swallow it was enough to show how powerful the miniature dragon was. Ningyu, if you know what's good for you, quickly admit defeat. Once I use my full strength, you won't even have the chance to surrender. The first prince's lips curled up as he shouted at Ningyu. Boom. At this time, the little dragon shadow that had swallowed solitaire rapidly expanded and dissipated. Ningyu sneered when he saw the little dragon phantasm disappear. The furious dragon goes to sea is only SOSO. You will not be able to defeat me by relying on it. Solitaire wasn't in peak condition just now. Furious dragon goes to the sea had yet to gain the upper hand against solitaire, who was not in peak condition, let alone against solitaire in peak condition. You forced me to do this. The first prince clenched his fists tightly and his expression darkened completely. The little dragon's sword skill's first move, Little Dragon's Fury, and the second move, Raging Dragon Goes to Sea. The third move, Mad Dragon Roar. At this moment, the first prince wanted to execute the third move of the Little Dragon sword skill, Furious Dragon Roar. Looking at the little dragon sword in the first prince's hand, Ningyu's expression turned serious. Solitaire. The origin energy in his consciousness was channeled into the Breaking Soul Sword again. Ningyu brandished the Breaking Soul Sword and executed solitaire again. It wasn't that Ningyu was afraid of the first prince, but he didn't want to waste too much time with the first prince. After all, he was able to sense that the old man by Wenyi's side had already locked his gaze onto the Dark Emperor. For the sake of preventing the old man from making a move against the Dark Emperor, Ningyu had to defeat the first prince as soon as possible and be free to deal with the Dark Emperor. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. Mad Dragon. Not good. The first prince wanted to execute the third move of the Little Dragon sword skill, but his expression changed drastically. He realized that the solitaire that Ningyu executed had already arrived in front of him. The first prince cursed and immediately retreated. Bang! However, the speed at which he retreated was clearly not as fast as solitaire. In an instant, solitaire caught up with him and struck his chest under the first prince's horrified gaze. Fart. Fortunately, the first prince had gathered all the origin energy in his body into his chest at the critical moment. Otherwise, he would have been severely injured by just this solitaire. Even so, the huge force that came from his chest still sent the first prince flying several feet away and crashing heavily onto the ground. What? The first prince has been defeated. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Are you blind? The first prince has already been defeated, yet you still say it's impossible. You're really unreasonable. Is Ningyu really that powerful? To think that even the first prince is no match for him. At least from the looks of it now, he is indeed very powerful. The first prince's defeat had a huge impact on the crowd. Among the many princes, the first prince's abilities were at the pinnacle. On the surface, there was no one who was stronger than him. It could be said that the first prince represented the strongest battle prowess of the royal family below the age of 35. Now that the first prince had been defeated by Ningyu, didn't that mean that Ningyu had already dominated the younger generation of the royal family? Swoosh. After defeating the first prince, Ningyu did not stay where he was. Instead, he immediately retreated. This was because he realized that when the first prince had been defeated, two powerful auras had already locked onto him. Furthermore, the owners of these two auras were at least at the pinnacle of the primal core stage. Swoosh. Swoosh. Ningyu had just retreated a few feet when two powerful figures charged at him at an alarming speed. Damn it! Cursing under his breath, Ningyu stopped in mid-air. The Yuan Qi in the golden elixir image was channeled into his fist as he tried to fight the two martial artists head-on, Actually, Ningyu had no other choice. The moment he retreated, the two pinnacle primal core martial artists would definitely turn around and attack the Dark Emperor. Now that 5 minutes had passed, he still needed to hold on for another 5 minutes. Two pinnacle primal core martial artist. Has Ningyu lost his mind? He actually dares to fight the pinnacle primal core martial artists head-on. If he's not lost his mind, then he must have lost his mind. Who does he think he is? A pinnacle primal core martial artist would be able to kill him easily. Heh, I wonder if Danwu College will send anyone. After all, Ningyu is a core disciple of the Sacred College. In my opinion, Danwu College will not send anyone. I heard that Danwu College is in the middle of some kind of meeting, and there will not be anyone available for now. By now, the first prince had already stood up from the ground. The corners of his mouth curled up in a smile as he said coldly, "Why don't you consider your own strength first? Even I would not dare to fight the black-white double ghosts." The black-white double ghosts had only attacked because of the first prince's orders. When he had been defeated by Ningyu, the first prince had sent a message to the black-white double ghosts, instructing them to teach Ningyu a lesson. The black-white double ghosts took orders from the first prince, and without his orders, they would not attack. In mid-air, seeing that the two pinnacle primal core martial artists were getting closer and closer to him, Ningyu's expression became more and more serious. In the end, his face became completely pale. Blue spiritual fire. Soul power. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu gathered a purple-blue spiritual fire in his left hand, and a strong soul power wrapped around his right hand. He could not avoid the fists of the two pinnacle primal core martial artists. Crack, crack. The four fists collided, and immediately, two crisp cracking sounds rang out in the area. Swoosh. Following that, Ningyu's body was thrown far away and landed heavily beside the Dark Emperor. Fut. Chapter 323. 3 more minutes. Enduring the excruciating pain all over his body, Ningyu stood up with difficulty. As long as he could hold on for another 3 minutes, the Dark Emperor would be able to completely devour the aura of the ancient flood dragon. The aura of the ancient flood dragon was not weak. If the Dark Emperor could devour it, he could very well advance to the mid-primal core stage. When he was in the early primal core stage, the Dark Emperor could already kill a late primal core stage martial artist. Once he advanced to the mid-primal core stage, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. By then, Ningyu would no longer be afraid of the two peak primal core stage martial artists in front of him. Black-white double ghosts, you two can leave first. Seeing that Ningyu had been defeated, the first prince took a step forward and waved his hand. I don't need you here for now. I have a few words to say to Ningyu. Without any hesitation, the black and white double ghosts immediately disappeared from the area in a flash. Ningyu, I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me, the first prince said in a low voice. Stop dreaming in broad daylight. You want me to submit to you? Impossible, Ningyu said in a low voice. Good, very good, very good. With a smirk, the first prince pointed at the Dark Emperor and said coldly, I know this little dog is not simple. If you don't submit to me, I'll kill it and make it into dog meat. As soon as the word eat was said, the first prince appeared in front of the Dark Emperor. He lifted his right leg and kicked at the Dark Emperor. The first prince's kick was so powerful that if the Dark Emperor was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he did not die. At this critical moment, Ningyu stepped forward and stood in front of the Dark Emperor. Then, Ningyu raised his right arm and collided with the first prince's right leg, which he could not avoid. Bang! A crisp sound rang out as the two figures were sent flying. Ningyu took 3 steps back, while the first prince took 4 steps back. At this moment, it was clear who was stronger. Ningyu took a blow from 2 pinnacle primal core adepts head-on, and still managed to unleash such a powerful attack. Isn't that so? I was also surprised by that. As expected of a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. His strength is formidable. The sounds of discussion in the surroundings caused the first prince's expression to turn even gloomier. From that move just now, he could tell that Ningyu still possessed powerful combat strength, at the very least comparable to him. This was very embarrassing for him. He had already ordered the black-white double ghosts to retreat. If he were to summon the black-white double ghosts again, he would be going back on his words. As the first prince, going back on his word in front of so many people was very disadvantageous to him in his fight for the position of crown prince. However, without the black and white double ghosts, he was no match for Ningyu. At the very least, he could not defeat Ningyu in a short period of time. Whoosh! At this moment, a black-robed martial artist landed before the first prince. Looking at the black-robed martial artist who had suddenly appeared before him, the first prince's heart skipped a beat. Without batting an eyelid, he asked, "You are?" "Jiming, young master Wen has a feud with Ningyu, and he has specially ordered me to come and take him down," the black-robed martial artist said. "First prince, there is no need for you to personally deal with a stubborn person like Ningyu. Leave it to me." Wen Yi came before the first prince and said, "Ningyu and I are already at a point where we will not rest until one of us is dead. It would be best for me to deal with him. In that case, I will let you have him." Although he was rather excited, the first prince did not show it on his face. Instead, he said in a low voice, "Don't worry about my feelings. I will not ask about your feud, nor will I interfere. In that case, many thanks." Wen Yi first cupped his hands at the first prince, then turned to Jiming and said, "Uncle Ji, please." "Understood." Nodding, Jiming's figure flashed as he charged directly at Ningyu. Jiming's speed was very fast, so fast that before Ningyu could react, he had already arrived before him. Following that, Jiming's fist brought with it a gust of essence as it landed squarely on Ningyu's chest. Bang! The huge force from his chest caused Ningyu's body to fly back like a kite with a broken string. He only managed to stabilize himself after flying back several meters. Oh! Seeing that Ningyu had not been beaten to the ground, Jiming raised his eyebrows, feeling somewhat incredulous. "To be able to block a punch with 30% of my strength, you are indeed not simple." Following that, Jiming's tone changed, and he said coldly, "You will not be so lucky after this." Just as he finished speaking, all the essence in Jiming's body surged out, and he charged forward as fast as lightning. Sensing the strong essence fluctuations coming from Jiming, Ningyu's expression turned extremely grave. 2 more minutes. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu gathered all the essence in his body on his wrist, and instead of retreating, he charged towards Jiming. What is Ningyu trying to do? Jiming is a pinnacle primal core martial artist. Instead of running away, Ningyu wants to fight him? Does he think that just by blocking a blow from the black and white double evils, he can go up against Jiming? Heh, a sin committed by God can be forgiven, but a sin committed by oneself cannot be avoided. Regarding Ningyu's crazy actions, the surrounding martial artists all had the same opinion. That was, Ningyu would definitely lose. There was no doubt about it. Since ancient times, there had been people in the early stages of the true martial realm who could go up against a pinnacle primal core martial artist. However, no one thought that Ningyu could do this. Smack. What happened next also confirmed the crowd's suspicions. With a muffled sound, Ningyu flew back several feet, only stopping when his body hit the city wall. On the other hand, Jiming stood where he was, completely unharmed. 1 more minute. Swallowing the metallic taste in his throat, Ningyu once again stood up from the ground. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said to Jiming, "A pinnacle primal core martial artist is only SOSO. SOSO? Jiming seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world as he threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then he said coldly, "Since you say so, I will use all my strength. Let's see if you can block it." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiming's hands quickly formed a series of seals. As he waved his wrist continuously, the surrounding primordial chi gathered towards his palm with him as the center. After 30 seconds, Jiming's palms suddenly pushed forward. Whoosh! The next moment, an almost tangible palm print appeared in the air. "Go!" Jiming bellowed. The palm print seemed to have eyes of its own as it hurtled towards Ningyu. Damn it! As he stared at the approaching giant palm print, Ningyu's eyes were filled with determination. This palm print was practically the strongest move he had used since he had advanced to the true martial realm. Turning his head to look at the Dark Emperor, whose eyes were still tightly shut, Ningyu gritted his teeth and decided to use all 4 illusory golden cores. Only by using all 4 illusory golden cores would he have a chance of survival. However, just as Ningyu was about to expose the illusory golden cores in his sea of knowledge, he sensed something and hurriedly turned his head. Not far away, a ray of cold light suddenly shot over. At the same time, a somewhat arrogant voice resounded in this region. Chapter 324. His arrogant words were mixed with berserk energy fluctuations. It was like a sudden clap of thunder on a sunny day, quickly spreading out in this area. Like a sudden clap of thunder on a sunny day, the surrounding warriors all turned their gazes towards the horizon. Boom! The dog's claw brought with it a violent energy as it viciously slammed into the tangible palm print that was heading towards Ningyu. Kai kai! The 2 violent attacks collided with a loud bang, and a crisp kai kai sound rang out. Immediately, the crowd of warriors saw that the tangible palm print that was heading towards Ningyu was quickly dissipating amidst the kai kai sound. What kind of dog are you? Seeing the tangible palm print that he had struck out being dispersed by the dog's claw, Jiming's expression became serious as he shouted in a low voice. In mid-air, after the energy waves had dissipated, a tall and sturdy figure appeared beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Seeing the figure that had suddenly appeared, the warriors in the area opened their mouths wide, and their eyes revealed an expression of extreme shock. Because the person beside Ningyu was not a human, but a dog. More accurately, it should be a dog that had grown bigger. Isn't it Ningyu's pet dog? When did it become so powerful? Could it really be the Linghua Dog King? Even if it is the Linghua Dog King, it is impossible for it to have such powerful battle abilities. That's right, Jiming is a warrior at the peak of the primal core realm. How can a Linghua Dog King easily break through his attack with all his might? No matter what, Jiming will definitely get back at him. Swish. The whispers that reached his ears caused Jiming's face to turn ashen. His powerful attack had been blocked by a dog. He had truly lost all face. Furthermore, that dog seemed to not hear him, and directly started talking with Ningyu. Ningyu, that old dog didn't do anything to you, did he? The Dark Emperor sized up Ningyu from head to toe, and said exaggeratedly, if he dares to bully you, I'll skin him alive. Rolling his eyes at the Dark Emperor, Ningyu said in a low voice, I can sense that there are martial artists with grade 7 soul force in the surroundings. Remember to retract the aura of the heaven-devouring hound. Don't get discovered. Waving his doggy paw, the Dark Emperor said nonchalantly, you don't have to worry about this. Now that I have advanced to the middle primal core stage, a 7th grade soul power martial artist will not be able to detect my aura. That's good. It's better to be safe than sorry. Ningyu nodded, feeling slightly relieved. As long as the martial artists in the surroundings couldn't detect the aura of the Dark Emperor heaven-swallowing hound, he and the Dark Emperor would be safe. At the very least, before figuring out the Dark Emperor's true identity, the hidden martial artists would not casually attack him. Are you two done yet? Jiming clenched his fists tightly, and the anger on his face intensified. In the end, he even jumped up and said angrily, a dog dares to be so arrogant. You must be tired of living. Old dog, I don't need you to ask if I'm tired of living, but, at this point, the Dark Emperor paused for a moment before his aura pressed down on Jiming. I'm afraid you won't live for long. Damn it. Feeling the powerful aura from the Dark Emperor, Jiming's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly unleashed his aura and blocked in front of him. After advancing to the middle primal core stage, the aura that the Dark Emperor emitted was comparable to a peak primal core martial artist. Against a peak primal core martial artist like Jiming, the Dark Emperor was not afraid at all. In fact, he could even defeat him easily. However, the Dark Emperor did not do so. He was also more worried about the hidden martial artists in the surroundings. Ugh. Even so, Jiming was still suppressed by the Dark Emperor's powerful aura to the point that he could not breathe. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood. If the last time the Dark Emperor blocked Jiming's palm print, everyone was a little surprised. This time, he relied on his aura to make Jiming spit out a mouthful of blood. That was truly shocking. Could it be that Ningyu is hiding his strength and pretending to be weak? That's possible. After all, his pet dog is already so powerful. He can't be weak. Hihi, even Jiming lost to a dog. From this, it seems that the first prince will definitely send the black-white double evils. It's hard to say. The first prince will probably think carefully about going back on his word. Compared to everyone else's shock, the first prince was extremely shocked. He had originally thought that Jiming would be able to take down Ningyu. Who would have thought that a little dog would appear? Moreover, this little dog was very powerful. It was so powerful that Jiming, who was at the peak primal core stage, was no match for it. Although Jiming was not weak in battle, the first prince knew that if the battle continued, Jiming would lose without a doubt. Now, even if I have to go back on my word, I will make Ningyu suffer a little. I might even kill him here. The first prince's expression darkened. Then, he gritted his teeth and said to the air, "Black-white double evils, attack immediately. Defeat Ningyu at all costs," and even then, the first prince raised his right hand and gently drew a line across his neck. Whoosh! The black-white double evils took orders from the first prince. After receiving the first prince's order, they did not hesitate at all. They immediately appeared in the air and charged at Ningyu. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures, one black and one white, flew at a shocking speed and appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Then, the black-white double evils threw a punch at Ningyu's head and chest. The two punches from the black-white double evils were extremely cunning. They completely sealed off Ningyu's escape route and forced Ningyu to take them head-on. Damn it! Seeing that Ningyu was about to be hit, the Dark Emperor's eyes flashed with a vicious look. He immediately rose from the ground and used his muscular body to ram into the black-white double evils. I don't care about this stupid dog. We have to get rid of Ningyu. The black-white double evil's order was to defeat Ningyu at all costs, and even kill him. Therefore, they temporarily ignored the Dark Emperor and focused on attacking Ningyu. To them, as long as they defeated or killed Ningyu, it would be very easy and effortless for them to come back and deal with this little dog. Whoosh! However, the black-white double evils had clearly underestimated the Dark Emperor's speed. Before they could attack Ningyu, the Dark Emperor had already arrived in front of them. Furthermore, his body grew once again and pressed down heavily on them. Crack! The black-white double evils felt like their bodies were being crushed by a rock that weighed thousands of kilograms. Their bones were about to fall apart. Although the black-white twin specters had used their yuan qi to dissipate some of the force, their ribs were still fractured by the immense impact. Ah! Ah! Two screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered rang out in the area. The black-white double evils' bodies fell heavily to the ground, their faces contorted. The surrounding martial artists did not expect such a dramatic turn of events. Chapter 325. Damn it! Seeing the black and white double ghosts defeated by an enlarged Linghua dog, the eldest prince's mouth gaped open so wide that an egg could fit inside. The shock on his face was plain to see. The black and white double ghosts were peak primal core warriors. If they joined forces, they could even compete with a half-step yin-yang warrior. Now that they had been defeated by a Linghua dog, how could he not be shocked? After a brief moment of shock, the eldest prince began to re-evaluate Ningyu. To have such a powerful pet dog, it was enough to prove that Ningyu's true identity was very special. He was far from being a core disciple of Danwu College on the surface. It was very likely that Ningyu came from some secret family or a hidden sect. The eldest prince's face became even more ashen at this thought. Because he had already thoroughly offended Ningyu. If he allowed Ningyu to leave the capital smoothly, not only would it be difficult for him to fight for the position of crown prince, but even his life would be in danger. Therefore, today, Ningyu must die. Elder BA, I'm in trouble. Taking a deep breath, the eldest prince tilted his head slightly and spoke to the empty air in a low voice. Do not act rashly. There are at least 3 powerful people around who are not weaker than me. Today's matter should not be blown out of proportion. However, just as the first prince finished speaking, an extremely soft voice rang out next to his ear. Hearing the soft voice, the eldest prince was slightly stunned and stood rooted to the ground. Who on earth was Ningyu? How could there be so many powerful people protecting him? Eldest prince, I can tell you very clearly that one of the powerful people is on the sixth prince's side, and the other is on the third prince's side. Just then, the voice rang in the eldest prince's ear again. As for the other one, at this point, the voice paused and then continued, the strength of the soul is no lower than the 7th rank. It should be someone from Danwu College. 3rd brother. 6th brother. Danwu College. Hearing this, the eldest prince recovered from his daze. His face became somewhat twisted, and he could not help but clench his fists. Phew. Soon, the first prince let out a long breath and regained his composure. Moving his feet, the first prince arrived before Ningyu in an instant. Pa pa pa. Clapping his hands, the first prince said to Ningyu, I didn't expect you to still have a trick up your sleeve. This dog. No, this dog brother of yours is really not simple. You are the dog brother, your whole family are dog brothers. Being called a dog, the Dark Emperor was instantly displeased. However, just as his hair stood on end, Ningyu slapped him on the head and said in a low voice, how can you speak to the crown prince like that? Listen up, this is the first prince, the person who is most likely to become the crown prince of the great Xia kingdom. As long as he becomes the crown prince, he will be the emperor of the Da Xia kingdom. Emperor, do you understand? As he spoke, Ningyu touched his nose and ears with his palm. Out of the corner of his eye, the Dark Emperor saw what Ningyu was doing. His heart skipped a beat and he quickly withdrew his aura. Then, the Dark Emperor shrank and said, I understand, of course I understand, the Emperor is out. However, before the Dark Emperor could finish his sentence, Ningyu kicked him in the butt and sent him flying. You know nothing. After kicking the Dark Emperor, Ningyu patted the hem of his pants and said calmly, you better behave when you see the first prince in the future. Up in the sky, Old Man Ba could not help but frown after witnessing what Ningyu had done. Did this kid notice my presence? On second thought, Old Man Ba decided it was impossible. After all, with his cultivation and strength, there was no way he could detect a martial artist in the early stage of the true martial realm without anyone noticing. This kid is smart. Old Man Ba quietly withdrew his aura from Ningyu's body. Since Ningyu knew his place, it would be inappropriate for Old Man Ba to keep his guard up. Falling out with Danwu College, the 3rd prince, and the 6th prince at this critical moment would be detrimental to the first prince's chances of becoming the crown prince. As expected of the first prince. He has such a powerful protector. Ningyu let out a sigh of relief when he felt the aura on him disappear. To be honest, his legs were still shaking when Old Man Ba locked his aura on him. With his keen senses, he could easily tell that Old Man Ba was different. At the very least, Old Man Ba had to be a yin-yang realm martial artist. As experienced as Ningyu was, he couldn't afford to let his guard down when being targeted by a yin-yang realm martial artist. That was why Ningyu chose to reconcile with the first prince. As long as he was alive, there was hope. After all, the feud between him and the first prince was already set in stone. It was only a matter of time before the matter was resolved. Ningyu, I'll treat you to Tianming Tower today. How about it? The first prince had no idea what Ningyu was planning. He wanted to test Ningyu and see why Ningyu had changed his attitude so quickly. Tianming Tower. The first prince is extending an invitation to Ningyu. That's right. Let's see if Ningyu will accept it. The martial artists around them were all shocked by the first prince's words. They all knew that there were 3 famous restaurants in the Xia kingdom. Tianming Tower belonged to the first prince. Tianhai Tower belonged to the 3rd prince, Ouyang Hai. Heaven Origin Tower belonged to the 6th prince, Ouyang Yuan. The first prince, the 3rd prince, and the 6th prince were the most likely contenders for the crown prince's position. As long as one accepted the invitation to enter the restaurants controlled by them, it meant that one was bound to them. One's glory, one's loss, all of them. This was a gamble. If one won, one would be rich and powerful. If one lost, one would die without a corpse. Ha ha ha, Since Big Brother is in such a good mood, why don't we go to Tianyuan Tower? Suddenly, a loud laugh was heard. A figure flew out from the capital and appeared in the area in the blink of an eye, landing firmly between Ningyu and the first prince. Sixth brother. The first prince's face darkened when he saw the familiar figure. What are you doing here? Hehe, Big Brother, there's no need to be so anxious to see me. With a faint smile, sixth Prince Ouyang Yuan said, it's rare for us two brothers to be free today. Plus, Brother Ningyu and I are both students of the Sacred Institute, so I should be the host and invite you to the Tianyuan Tower. Sixth brother, as the big brother, how can I let you spend money? Or should you and Ningyu go to Tianming Tower together? The first prince smiled, not showing any anger in his heart. Big brother, sixth brother, what a coincidence. You're both here? Just as the first prince and Ouyang Yuan were arguing, another figure dashed toward them at high speed. In an instant, he arrived beside everyone. Whoosh! The eyes of the martial artists in the area widened when they saw the three figures standing beside Ningyu. Disbelief filled their eyes. They were very suspicious. Who exactly was Ningyu? And why did he have such a great reputation? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.